when you've been around people for a long time, there can be in the friendships a little bit of staleness that sets in. You start taking each other for granted some. So what I heard this morning, Cody, when I came in here, and just a blabbering, yammering, excitedly sharing with a friend, Billy Gill, talking about, with a new audience in Zaslow, Fast and the Furious. I have not seen Billy that excited about anything. A mature adult father. I can't remember the last time I saw him as excited as he was just explaining the franchise to Zaslow.
I feel like we shared a moment.
Yeah, we bonded this morning. It started over Jurassic Park, really, if we're going to talk about it. And then it was just action movies, and then it was Fast and Furious.
But you just were rattling through them. Zaslow's only seen 2 of them, and you were just so happy.
The most recent 2.
But he was so happy to take you through the other 47 of them one by one.
And he was careful not to give spoilers.
Yeah, I didn't give him spoilers, but I gave him points of interest that might have him want to see some of these movies, but not exactly what happened, how it happened. We also bonded over, and this is probably not a very popular opinion in the Fast franchise. It might be. We bonded over how great Hobbs and Shaw was, which some people see as kind of like an appendage, not really part of like the Fast saga, but part of the Fast universe, if you will. Incredible movie.
I think it's part of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Now,
because Rock and Statham, they're so good in it. They're funny.
Oh my God, great chemistry, the two of them together. It made you wonder, do we really need Vin Diesel? And then, of course, the next one comes out, and you're like, we do need Vin Diesel.
I was very entertained with Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
And then you got all the Polynesian family that helps in the end. Roman Reigns was in it.
I'm glad you brought that up, Zaz, because in 2020, the year of our Lord, we were down here. The Super Bowl was in town right before COVID, and the world was shut down. And we went out to media night at Marlins Park at the time. It was called Marlins Park. It's Lone Depot Park.
They didn't have a sponsor yet, Dan.
Yeah, no. Now it's Lone Depot Park. For those of you who are unaware, it used to be called Marlins Park, and that's where opening night was, where all the teams are out there. Then you have the media out there, and they're trying to get interviews. Some people are being funny guys, like Cooper Manning was out there. I thought he was Pauly Shore that night. I was like, what is Pauly Shore doing out here? It was Cooper Manning. But one of the people that was out there on behalf of Fox was Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, I guess they had just signed on with Fox, so Roman Reigns was going around, and I think Baron Corbin was the other one, and they were going around, and they were interviewing players, and they were interviewing people on behalf of Fox. I assume it was a Fox Super Bowl. And I saw Roman Reigns, and he was working, so he wasn't really doing interviews. But he walked by, and I said to him, I go, Roman Reigns, when's Hobbs and Shaw 2 going to come out? And I put a microphone in his face, and he said, that wasn't me, that's the other guy. And I was like, did Roman Reigns forget he was in Hobbs and Shaw? Like, I don't think you're The Rock, but I know you were in Hobbs and Shaw. But he wasn't going to give me the answers.
Did he know what he was filming for?
That's what I'm wondering, if he even knew he was in the movie, which is a shame.
Maybe he just thought he was living his life.
It was, I don't know. I guess that's his life, right? Some people are there, spoiler alert. And then there's, friends of theirs, family members of theirs on the back of Jeeps holding helicopters by chains. Like, maybe that's just what happens. Maybe sometimes you just get into turf wars with, enemies from abroad. Who knows? But it was a movie, Roman. I don't know if he's aware.
Dan, in the most recent one, Ludacris was in space.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think that was the most. I think there was one after that. I think there was Part 10, Fast X. It was Fast 10. Part 1. Part 2 is upcoming. That's the final one for now.
Your enthusiasm about this.
Tokyo Drift, Zaz, while not having most of the cast, the most instrumental in tying it all together.
Just start the show.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my mouth, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the wake up, let out the sheets. We came for one, man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, right there, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that, stop that, stop that.
Zaslow very excitedly just said to me, what's more absurd, Ludacris in space or Steve Buscemi in Armageddon in space?
Absurd was your adjective. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I think you might have said, what's more ludicrous, did you not? Regardless.
No, that's the actor's name.
Oh, okay, thank you. That was my confusion.
Luda.
So I want to know why it is Greg Cody just waved at Billy Gill with the back of his hand. Why is it that you just dismissed him when he mentioned The Rock and Jason Statham?
Well, the cult of cinema fascination is just way over my head, and I admit that. I'm not an atheist when it comes to movies. I'm an agnostic, though. I don't get it. Like sometimes when Christopher and Michael, my younger son, are together, they're just trading lines from movies, and it's like a language I don't understand. And where, Roman Neal or whatever the actor's name was, I've never heard of that.
No, you got it right,
Yeah.
Roman Neal. Yeah, you got it.
Neal.
The wrestler Roman
Yeah,
Neal.
you remember. I was surprised you remember, but you did.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, only because you just said it.
Yeah.
But I don't know movies, and so when people are that enthusiastic
Right.
about talking movies, it's just
Well,
I'm amused. by
Just
it.
try 8 to 10 of them, Greg. You'll love them.
What's your wheelhouse? Like, you could do that about Wizard of Oz. Get excited. Tell us about it.
No, so he dismissed you guys with the back of the hand, but I found that your father is more and more unreasonable as he ages about just the collection of any new information. So I think movies are a very common language among friends, but I will ask at Le Batard Show, was Hobbs and Shaw indeed a great flick at Le Batard Show? I believe that's going to be a controversial opinion from the Shadow Show. But your father, right before that, Chris, he was looking at his computer, and he had just come out of course, the Greg Cody Family Olympics. That part's not surprising at all. It's always on his computer. Soon, in a new episode on the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody, you will get the Greg Cody Family Olympics, 70 years old against 7 years old. It's the only thing of its kind in its lane, grandfather against granddaughter.
It's out now. That episode had just dropped.
All right. So what happened was your dad's looking at his computer, and O'Neal Cruz of the Pittsburgh Pirates just has a giant arm, and the defense in baseball is better than it's ever been. And they recorded a throw from the outfield from him at 105.2 miles per hour. And Greg Cody points at his computer and yells, "Too much information." Didn't want the information.
It's a perfect example of TMI in sports statistics now. And then the second paragraph was the second fastest recording throw from the outfield, resulting in a putout since 2015 when StatCast began keeping track of this stuff. Why are they keeping track of it? It's so ridiculous. Am I supposed to wonder, oh, wow, I wonder who had a harder throw? And is that person going to put that on their resume? On the tombstone, hardest throw from the outfield, resulting in a putout in MLB history. I just don't see that that's interesting, worth anything.
A human being threw a baseball 105 miles an hour.
Okay, put him on the mound.
This is coming from a guy who tracks unique hits in PFPI.
Well, that's a family. It's a family affair. I do. UH.
I don't think that people quite.
Raccoon skin. That's a nickname for a unique hit because Ruth's Raccoons, God rest her soul, my mother, before she died, she led the league in unique hits every season and still holds the record that Graceland almost beat the year before last.
Really?
Yeah.
How close did she get?
The record, I believe, is 19 in a season, and I think Graceland had 17. But, so I keep track of unique hits, but that's a family affair. That's nothing published nationwide. Nobody would care about that in Idaho, just like nobody cares about O'Neill Cruz's 105
I do
mile
care,
throw.
though. I found that interesting.
Why?
Both of your glasses are fogging
I
up
know,
now.
because I'm talking.
Is it the coffee? Is it the coffee?
It could be. The coffee's very hot, a little bit undersweetened.
Okay, so your hot taking here, you don't want any more information, but so you don't find it interesting that a throw from the outfield came in at 105 miles an hour?
Not in the least.
But, Dad, this is not OPS. This is a pretty simple, straightforward, hardest person to throw from the outfield. Like,
Okay, but why is that relevant?
Because that means they can throw out runners at a higher rate than other guys would be able to because they can throw the ball 105
Right.
miles
No,
per hour.
I get it. I appreciate the condescending tone of voice there. Obviously, that's true if you have that magical nexus of speed and accuracy. If he's a foot and a half off on the throw,
But
people are still saying, wow, what a fast throw.
He wasn't.
I know.
But if he was,
Right.
Yeah, but they say you're a 5-tool player, right? And one of the tools happens to be throwing.
I will say that on a baseball field, there are two things that get my attention the most. It is somebody hitting a ball very far. It's not speed on the bases. It is somebody having a giant arm. I remember players forever. Dave Parker just died. What do I remember? Giant arm from the outfield.
Remember that Yoenis Cespedes throw from the corner in L.A.? It's one of the greatest things I've ever seen on a baseball field.
I've told you guys this story before. Ricky Williams, obviously a great athlete, played minor league baseball, and I was just playing softball with him one time, and he was in the outfield, and I was on third base, and he just threw a ball to home plate.
I threw out Derek Lee one time softball game.
really? What position?
I was second.
Wow.
Threw his ass out.
Who's your double play combo?
Mike Lowell.
Wow.
How fast was your throw? About 60?
Fast enough. Don't run on me, dog.
Okay.
The softball was whistling. I could hear a softball whistling as it went past me on third base because of how hard it had been thrown. I cannot imagine an outfielder throwing a baseball 105 miles an hour. Having seen throws from the warning track from Bo Jackson and Vladimir Guerrero, like loving Jesse Barfield, I associate that name with an arm. Like one of the things that I love in baseball is a giant arm. And I don't understand why it is that you would just – I understand why you wouldn't want generally more information, but that information is not uninteresting, I don't think.
I just think it's extraneous and irrelevant, really, in the big picture, in the broad view of sports and stats and athletes.
you guys go Chooch or Cannon for a strong arm?
Oh, you got to go Cannon, right?
Rocket.
I go Chooch.
Put it on the poll, Juju at Le Batard Show. Stronger arm, Cannon, Rocket, or Chooch?
It's got to be generational, right?
I don't know.
When Ricky Williams' softball was it whistling a tune, or was it just like the sound of wind?
I've got it, Andy Griffith.
No, it was
Yeah.
Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Oh, that's impressive. See?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Okay.
Okay, now you have my attention.
Okay. I'm great.
Now that's a stat.
I'm
How old was Ruth when she set the record, just out of curiosity?
She was well into her 80s at that point.
So the record for unique hits is by an 80-year-old
Yep.
and a child.
yes,
Unique
that's right.
hit is when you're the only one to get a
No,
game
I
right.
know. It
Yeah.
makes me wonder kind of how in tune the pickers are when they make these unique hits and whether it's actually a skill or it's just people who don't know what they're doing.
Well, my mother's technique was to pick the city that she would prefer to live in. of
Okay,
the
so
two
she
teams.
knew that.
Would I rather live in Boston or Atlanta? That type thing.
So the Marlins, as soon as Billy starts going to the games, they start losing. The Marlins were beating very good teams. Milwaukee is a very good team, and Milwaukee came in here and won a couple of games against the Marlins. But I wanted to ask you guys, because I don't know how you feel about nostalgia. Baseball's always been great at trafficking in it. Was anyone moved by Jim Leland Day at the ballpark celebrating one of the two old managers that are beloved around here because they were ancient a million years ago when they won the championship and are even more ancient now? Jim Leland comes to the ballpark like Jack McKeon to be celebrated, and it had to make him a little bit sad to see what baseball in South Florida is.
There's no way. There's no way when he was, shaking hands behind home plate, putting on the jacket, that he didn't say to himself, "Wow, this is just a shit crowd."
Right?
He was there for 1998.
And he should.
He was there for 1998 when he would be in the clubhouse, and he's like, "They got me a truck driver, center field. I got he's a truck driver." They lost like 115 games, but he wasn't expecting to come back to Jim Leland Day and have nothing there.
Right.
I don't know how much he was here with the Tigers. I don't imagine he was here very much. Like maybe he knows how bad it is, but I'm guessing Jim Leland returned to Jim Leland Day hoping that there would be a lot of people there to celebrate, a world championship.
Does it make it any better that I got back from Key Largo around noon, around right before game time, and I, for the first time since the first week of the season, put on the game because I wanted to watch the ceremony.
Wow.
So, that's better than nothing. I put it on.
It is.
I was like, let me see this. Jim Leland Day, I want to watch that.
And
I was made sad by the crowd.
oh,
It's the bare minimum effort that you gave where it's like, I will sniff this for a moment on television because it's Jim Leland Day.
I have an indelicate question, but is there like financial compensation for Jim Leland Day? Like, is there a check involved?
They wet his whistle a little bit?
I'm wondering, congratulations, you made it to the Marlins Legends Hall of Fame.
That's expenses.
Here is an amount of money. Or you're coming down for a personal I don't know how these things work, but if you have a Jim Leland Day and he's coming down for obligations, is there a fee that he receives for doing it?
I'm going to guess just a reimbursement of expenses. Like, he's got to invoice them. And he'll be reimbursed on whatever it is that it costs. For the hotel, I'm guessing the flight they handle.
Listen, we're talking about the Marlins. Let's not sugarcoat this. They cover his flight, economy. They give him a $50 per day per diem and put him up at a Motel 6.
Okay, you're going to make
$50
a Motel
6.
Seems unnecessary.
And
Not even a Comfort Inn.
Leland's out front at the Motel 6 in a lawn chair, chain smoking, while waiting for an Uber that he can't sign off.
He's sitting next to the pool with no water in it.
Yes,
At a Best Western.
Right.
All right. So just to be clear, you guys have at a Motel 6 by the pool, you've got Jim Leland
With no water in it.
Wait,
Right.
with one of those, tins that is made of aluminum
Right.
that is baking his face so that he can get the proper red on his face. I will tell you that the funniest thing like that I've ever seen was in the Radisson parking lot in Bristol, Connecticut. This will only be funny to the 5 people who remember him, but Dave Soup Campbell being in a chair with one of those things sunning his face is how I imagine Jim Leland outside of a Motel 6.
Yeah. There was a shuffleboard court out front, but it was weed covered. You couldn't even use it. It was a sad hotel, but this is the Marlins. Bruce Sherman, he plays at Lone Depot Park. He should take out a loan and actually start paying for players. I know they had an 8-game. Here's the sad thing that we've talked about, okay? Jeremy's mad at all this.
Go on.
They just had an 8-game winning streak, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, they've done something. They have shown that their young players are rising. They have potential as a team. They're going to come home, and the crowds are going to be there. Well, their first home game after an 8-game winning streak, they drew 7,000 people. Okay, Sunday, because of Jim Leland and fireworks or whatever it was, I think they inched over 10,000. The fans just aren't buying what they're selling.
Maybe that's because of us.
4th of July was a pretty good crowd. It was a good environment. It was a good loss. I went on 4th of July. Very good loss. Competitive game. The crowd was up with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Runners on first and second. Tying run there. Ended up losing, but it was a nice loss. Fireworks show was decent. Fireworks show. Fun time had by all on the 4th of July.
Okay.
Yeah, baseball might work down here. I would say this, as much as we criticize the Marlins and we say, oh, they just had an 8-game win streak and where's the crowd and all that stuff, I mean, worse off are the Braves and the Nationals. The Nationals, I don't think there was any expectations, but the Marlins are in 3rd in the NL East right now. They're not going to win the division, but there is a off chance that the wild card is interesting towards the end of the year. But man, the Braves are a disaster. I would hate to be the Braves or a Braves fan right now behind the Marlins with what they were supposed to be. The Braves are one of these teams that we were talking about 2-3 years ago. Like, Braves are going to be around for a decade, and no one's going to compete with them. And because of injuries, and Ronald Acuna Jr. has been injured a number of times, but the Braves have dealt with a ton of injuries, and now the Marlins, who have a fraction, like a quarter of their payroll maybe, are ahead of them in the standings.
I would be worried for my job if I were Brian Snitker, because in MLB, the rule of thumb is they fire the manager and the GM if that team falls behind the Marlins in the NL East. That's the rule of thumb.
Well, the Nationals just did that.
Yeah, we just saw that. And
Yeah,
again,
so
that's
I guess Braves are next on that
before
list.
the draft. Right before the draft, you've fallen behind the Marlins. We fired everybody.
Right. Yes.
Nationals are one of those teams like the Cavaliers, right? Where you're like, okay, how is it that they have so many number one picks every year?
MLB drafts during the day. Like, do you think if the Marlins and the Braves are playing at the same time as the draft, they can get fired during the draft?
Quite possibly. Right before the pick. Too many rounds in the MLB draft.
Yeah, it's the worst of the drafts by far. Well, I guess
By
being
far.
drafted into war is worse, but MLB draft is the worst draft.
You're right. What are there, like 78 rounds?
I think at one time the baseball draft, and I'm not making this up. I
You
heard
can
this
just
somewhere.
keep picking.
No, I think at one point in time, and it can't still be the thing where the MLB draft just continued until every team was like, okay, we're good now.
Yeah.
Like it just kept going until the teams all agreed to stop drafting.
It's 20 rounds now. So they cut it down during COVID because they eliminated so many minor league teams from across minor league baseball. So now each farm system only has 4 teams. And so they've limited the amount of people that you can select. So it went back to 10 after being 5, and now it's only 20, which is totally reasonable considering how many minor league teams there are.
I want to do something with you guys here because we haven't had a chance to do very much of this in the local hour. Our friend and colleague Barry Jackson, who for many years I have said at the Miami Herald would be a number 1 pick. He would be a number 1 pick if we were drafting sports information people locally, although Andy Slater might be yelling and screaming that he wants in on that. But Barry Jackson has been a newsbreaker in this town for a long time. He doesn't usually delete his tweets, but there was a tweet deleted that read, "It would behoove the Heat to clear out roster spots soon. That is all."
I hate that so much.
I do too.
I hate it so much.
That implies he knows something.
Okay,
What's he know?
so first of all, Barry Jackson unequivocally is the best reporter down here. Okay, like let's put the cards on the table.
Well, let's put it on the table.
The best reporter out
Why are
there.
you making a face,
Greg,
Dad?
any dispute? Do you have any dispute of that?
Barry Jackson is a great reporter.
Really great.
I just don't like that kind of a tweet.
But for me, okay, and I'm interested if you agree with this, Greg, because we're 2 journalists who are on this show right now. So I'm interested if you agree with me. All right, that tweet right there is a reporter telling you, I know something you're not allowed to know yet.
Right.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
And that to me, it's like, it's a dick move to me.
I don't know if I'd go that strongly, but my problem with something like that is that you're throwing something at a wall, hoping it sticks. If 2 days later the Heat do make a big move, Barry Jackson could look back at that tweet and go, yeah, like I reported.
No, that's what
2
he's
days
doing.
ago.
He wants to be able to be, see, I told you.
Right.
Why did he delete it?
Probably because of responses like this.
You should ask him. I'll call him right now.
Do it.
You're
No,
gonna.
No, I don't want
Wow.
I don't want to embarrass him.
Okay, that's a great joke. If you're not going to
Yeah.
execute it,
And it
like-
was a joke.
Why would it embarrass him?
I mean, everybody has his number. The show is able to call him right now.
I have his number.
Was that a spooky? What was that spooky hands you did
What
there?
are you doing?
The show
liked
is
it.
able to call him right now. I like doing that once in a while. It's a special effect.
You got a
when
nice-
I go like this.
Nice tan going, Greg.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Do I have the raccoon eyes? I feel like I do.
Nah.
I should put my glasses back on.
You
Yeah.
do, yeah. You've got. It is very clear that you have had things placed under your eyes that have, were you wearing sunglasses still? Is that what that is?
Well,
the
these
the
turn
residue
it-
of
yeah.
your sunburned face.
These turn into sunglasses when I'm in the sun. I spent a lot of time in the sun over the weekend in Key Largo, and it was a beautiful time had by all.
Just lean back a little further if you can.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ruth's raccoons, right?
Right. Yeah. That's why we call a coonskin a unique nickname for a unique kid is a coonskin.
I don't like that word.
The idea that you guys are here, like honestly, that we're 30 minutes into the show and that both you and Billy have used some form of "and a good time was had by all." Like,
What was?
It was.
I mean, it's.
What better way to describe it?
I want to read something to you guys, but before we go here, because I want to get a ruling from Zaslow, who is a judge and a lawyer. Barry Jackson deleting that tweet, is that forgivable or is that not forgivable?
Barry Jackson put out a tweet claiming he knows things that you don't, the common person, normal, the poors, don't know. He knows. Unforgivable. Unforgivable. Unforgiven.
Okay, Barry Jackson's been called out. You have Barry Jackson also as the number 1 seed all time on reporting locally, correct?
He and Andy Slater, I would say. But Barry, I would put number 1.
All time.
No, locally.
No, I meant
right
locally,
now.
but all time.
Like right now.
Okay, right now. That's not
Yeah.
all time.
All time right now.
Yeah, all time right now. Best in show right now, like a horse, Barry.
How far back does all time go?
Wouldn't it be a dog? Best in show?
No, horses have that.
I'd like to read to you guys a sentence that I cannot get used to, and I'd like to ask all of you to give me what is the most absurd thing in this single sentence. I also want you to imagine me reading this sentence in like the year, I'm going to say, 2006. 5-star offensive tackle Felix Ojo, number 20 in the 2026 ESPN 300, committed to Texas Tech on Friday upon signing a historic 7-figure revenue share contract with the Red Raiders worth more than $5 million. His agent, Derek Shelby of Prestige Management, told ESPN. I want you to imagine me reading you that sentence 5 years ago, even 5 years ago. That one sentence of that. What is the most absurd thing in that sentence? Because I'm going to say that it's Texas Tech. My vote is I've got Prestige Management. I've got his agent. I've got historic 7-figure revenue share contract. I've got committed to Texas Tech. I've got 5-star offensive tackle, number 20 in the ESPN 300. Not number 1, number 20.
Number 1 tackle, though, in fairness.
Those are important because the first 19 are probably quarterbacks.
Right.
Those are more important. But just the going rate on this stuff and how it is that you get into this game, you guys aren't yet numb to it, are you? Like when I read that single sentence to you, it's no longer strange in any way?
The revenue sharing is what sticks out to me there.
That is what sticks out to me as well, because you're starting to cut athletes in on ownership level income right now. You expect that when MLS and Inter Miami to get Lionel Messi gives him a piece of the club ownership, but you don't expect that when an 18-year-old offensive tackle coming out of high school is given revenue sharing. To me, that's groundbreaking.
It made me happy. Like, I just heard you read that, and I was excited about it because it means that players are going to end up getting a more equitable share of what they deserve. Like, the reality is like Tim Tebow should have made millions of dollars at UF just on jersey sales, and that's where revenue sharing comes in. Is part of that is going to be in the merch that's sold and things like that. So when a player is that popular nationwide, it's going to ultimately really help them, and especially regionally. So I think this is awesome to hear about.
I don't react with happy or awesome. I also don't react with anything at all negative. It's just sort of still shell-shocked about the fact that it's so different than it was 5 years ago. The beginning of the pandemic, this whole thing changed because USC was talking about forming a union. Or the players in a conference that no longer exists were threatening that they weren't going to play if they didn't get money, and then 4 years later, we're like I am fascinated, is what I am. I'm emotionally indifferent about it, but I can also, I guess, awe. I guess that can't be emotionless, right? Because I'm looking at it and I am not that far removed from Ta-Nehisi Coates writing in The Atlantic an article about reparations and an article about how it is that the NCAA was unjust. And at that time, 5 years before the revolution, I could not have imagined the single sentence I just read to you about the nowhere program Texas Tech.
I think forming a college players union, that's crazy to me. After 150 years of amateurism, forming a union and then getting an agent, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
I mean, everything has changed, top to bottom, in sports, in college sports especially. And you look back, I mean, Carl Yastrzemski was the first baseball player to make $100,000. Right? I mean, everything changes generation by generation. And so when Jeremy's referencing, imagine what Tim Tebow thinks, that he was one of the greats and he got nothing compared to what a rookie offensive tackle is
He
getting
didn't get
now.
nothing, though.
He get nothing.
Well,
He
but
get nothing.
relative to today, he did, right?
I mean, I guess, like, he didn't get paid while he was in school. That's what he didn't get.
Okay, and when he came in, nobody offered him a cut of the Florida Gators' revenue. You know, I mean, everything has changed fundamentally. It's just a crazy time we're living in. I don't begrudge the athletes for getting their share, but I also think it's to the detriment of the sport, because how can Texas Tech, beginning at the university level, not just the athletic program, how can they abide all of this? How can they continue to function when they're giving away revenue to players?
Well, you can't say that you have no feeling about it being negative and then say it's a detriment to the sport.
I think it's a detriment to the health of the sport. That's something the sport has to figure out.
So then you have a negative feeling about the athlete being paid if you think it's to the detriment of the sport. I don't agree with you that it's to the detriment of the sport. I think the sport is healthier than it's ever been, and there's more money to share than there's ever been. And I am super curious, once someone gets a Tebow, what's that worth?
Right.
Like I am legitimately awed about how seismic the change is, but I am not reticent or opposed to the change, because anywhere you find growth, you will find change. So if I'm finding revenue growth, I'm going to find growth of all kinds everywhere. I don't see where and how it's a detriment to the sport. If Texas Tech can play in this game, then anyone can.
Right. If Texas Tech, though, is giving revenue sharing to the offensive tackle, what about the five-star quarterback? What does he get?
But so what, though?
So
like,
what?
why would you want to limit costs on that?
Here's so what, because if you're giving revenue sharing to your 10 biggest football players and your 5 biggest basketball players, what does that do to the tennis program and all the other sports on campus? There's a trickle effect that's going to hurt college sports. It's going to be great for some of the top-tier athletes. And don't make any mistake about this. This is only the top-tier athletes we're talking about. Okay, the third-string guard is getting an NIL deal from the Dairy Queen for free ice cream and $50 a month. He's not getting this revenue sharing. It's a top-heavy system right now that's going to trickle down and affect other sports.
Why wasn't it bad for sports last year or the year before that? Like, when are you announcing that it's bad for sports?
I'm just announcing that giving athletes revenue sharing is a whole different level of payment.
Well, it's just giving them some ownership. It's
Right.
it's the way the whole world is moving in terms of you can be your own brand, you can start your own thing on the internet, you can be an entrepreneur. It's business is all moving
Right.
in this direction.
I agree, and it's good for the ones at the very top.
But it's good for everybody who gets money, right? More people are getting money than have ever gotten it,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, but 90% of them are getting what?
Okay, it's an imperfect system, but
Right.
it's better than it's been in terms of compensating them fairly, is it not?
It's better than it's been in the sense that all of a sudden, I think what began all of this, I think what tipped over the domino here was the star quarterback looking at his college coach getting $8-10 million or more per season, and the star quarterback who's winning the games is getting nothing. And he's looking at the TV contract. He's looking at how much money his school gets from being in a major bowl. And he's going, give me mine. And that's fair on the face of it. But the guy blocking for him on his offensive line is getting very, very little, relatively speaking.
I just told you he just got $5 million.
I know, but he's the exception. He's the 5-star, number 1 rated offensive tackle naturally.
Okay, but that's
So nobody should get the money since the bottom guys aren't getting it? Like, I'm confused what you're arguing for here.
There's no equity right now. Okay, it's a top-heavy system that's enriching.
there's literal equity. There might not be equality. They're giving him equity in
Right.
the revenue
You're right.
share.
There's no equality.
I mean, isn't
in
that
the
life?
equity.
Like, in what job is there equity?
I mean, in every job there's equity, right?
No, the people who are better, make more money.
Okay, but if you have a union, you make a minimum amount. There's such thing as a minimum wage, right? The relative to the.
But wouldn't the minimum? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but wouldn't the minimum wage be you're on scholarship? That's the minimum wage.
Well, that used to be everything. And now the top players are getting revenue sharing, and the bottom players are getting nothing.
But you're very worried about the bottom players who aren't getting anything, while not sort of acknowledging that the top players are now getting something closer to their actual value.
Yes.
Which represents improvement and growth and isn't necessarily bad for anybody other than people who are lamenting that they want their old sis boom ba amateurism back.
Okay, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the idea that this offensive tackle is getting a cut now of the revenue of Texas Tech is a whole new level of payment that is going to have a negative trickle-down effect on the whole athletic program at a school, I believe.
But you can't prove that in any way, and you're just objecting to it on its face because it makes you uncomfortable.
I can't prove it in any way because we are right in the middle of it. Not even in the middle of it. We're right at the front of it. We are just beginning. All of this is unfolding. NIL was new a couple of years ago, and now revenue sharing is new. This is a groundbreaking story, I think, because of the revenue sharing aspect.
Would you not say, though, and I'll leave this after this because I know this is an age-old July argument, but would you not at least concede, if we're talking about equitable, or we're talking about fairness, paying the tackle $5 million is more in line with whatever the athlete's worth is, what the value is, than whatever is the guy or the woman on the crew team that you're worried about right now.
Sure.
Neither of them are being paid.
Right.
Neither of them are being paid their value necessarily, because in the case of a Tim Tebow, he's worth much more than whatever it is that you would pay him, just by virtue of being that size of the economy. But you would agree, right, that it's more fair now than it used to be on value, on just measuring the value of athletes, what they're worth.
Well, the football program and men's basketball programs have always carried college sports across the country, right? And the fairness comes in, and Title IX used to insist that if you had a men's golf team, you had to have a women's golf team, a good thing. Now Title IX is being systematically dismantled, and so what we're going to see is top-heavy. This is a prediction. I can't prove it's going to happen. We're going to see college programs really pared back. There's not going to be any crew teams. Maybe the tennis programs are going to be intramural now instead of varsity.
But isn't that sort of capitalism?
Yes. Yeah.
If I was on the crew team, I would just kind of put my hand up and be like, look, I don't deserve what the football team deserves.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, and maybe some of them are realistic enough to think that. I don't think they'd say it, but.
I mean, do you guys think that there's going to be a collective bargaining agreement sooner or later? Because it just seems like they're going to form a union and the school's going to talk to them, and boom, there you go. We got a legally binding contract here.
If anything, Greg, the concern that you have about this inequity, I would think this is actually a step in the right direction, right? Because if revenue sharing starts becoming a piece of this, that's when ultimately revenue sharing is dispersed to the entire team. So the issue that you have, which is, hey, these individuals are getting paid all this much, the people getting the major NIL deals that are separating themselves from the rest of the group, those are the people we're talking about who are like the individual content creators or things like that. When you're starting to deal with revenue sharing, you're talking about having stake in the company that you're working for, right? And it's mutually beneficial to both the company and yourself for that company to succeed. So if anything, this is a step in the direction toward what you want, which is making sure that everyone on the team is getting a piece. And in this scenario, it's a giant offer to get one individual guy.
Right.
But I would think that this is sort of the first step in a years-long process that might eventually lead us toward revenue sharing with every athlete in college football, because that's what ultimately happens in all of these professionalized leagues.
I would hope that you're right. I think it's a big leap to assume that's going to be the next step, because Texas Tech can afford to cut in this great offensive tackle, supposedly great offensive tackle. They can afford to cut him into revenue sharing. But there's 10 other players on that team who want their share right now because of what he got. And the star of the men's basketball team is going, what about us? And so's the number one player on the men's tennis team. There's going to be a demand for revenue sharing, and the revenue may not be there. I don't know how this is going to work. Maybe it's going to work at an Alabama, a Notre Dame. I don't know. How's it going to work at a Texas Tech? How's it going to work at a Florida Atlantic University?
Let them worry about that.
Okay, and they will, and they are. I would not want to be an athletic director right now in college sports because it's turned into a complete nightmare, a thicket, a mangrove.
Hobbs and Shaw, 88% Rotten Tomatoes.
Low score.
Great.
A thicket
flick.
And a mangrove?
Yeah, a mangrove. We were in the middle of mangroves in Key Largo, and it's a glorious thing, the mangroves.
The Major League Baseball draft, thank you. Here, let me just let me do this. Hold on.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for adding nothing.
Adding nothing?
It's a glorious thing, the mangroves. Get out of here.
You know what?
Get out of here.
erosion.
Just get out of here.
Look up mangrove.
The Major League Baseball draft used to have an unlimited number of rounds. It would keep going until all 30 teams were done drafting. It once went 101 rounds in 1990. Almost 1,500 players were drafted.
Lights go out mid-broadcast with sportscaster Dan Patrick of the Dan Patrick Show.
Let's bring in Dan Le Batard, host of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. And Dan, good to see you.
It's always nice seeing you, Dan. I've got a little bit of chaos around me here. We've got a very electric, sort of vibrating Miami, and we're coming off of a historic United America last night, feeling very good about itself because they would be able to laugh at one city. Last night was a winning night for America. Either today would be about laughing at Boston fans or laughing at Miami fans, and America wins today. And here's the best part about it: America was going to win today no matter what. One hated fan base was going to allow you to laugh like that today. So congratulations to America.
Yeah, but I don't know if America hates the Miami Heat anymore.
No? We kind of need it. We kind of need it down here.
They hate Miami, Dan.
Oh, but not the Heat.
I believe that all things Miami are something that divide America.
Do you guys hate the Miami Heat? Like, Jimmy Butler's a great story, and Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent and Eric Spoelstra.
And we need the hate. We've been starved for the hate since 2010. Why are you not understanding what's happening around here?
Wait, the lights just went out on your show.
Oh, my God.
Haters.
What happened?
Haters.
Bring back our hate.
Okay. Well,
I'm sorry that the power has gone down here. I can still hear you, though, Dan. I can still hear you.
You never look better. I love it. Yeah.
Anybody got any matches?
Yeah. How about a candle? Something.
I'm running a media
lighter
empire here, Dan Patrick. This is a very exciting time in our history.
Man.
Everything shakes and creaks down here with the enthusiasm. We've lost all power down here, so I'm sorry this isn't a better televised affair.
Do you? Is this? I like it.
Here?
I like it. I like it. By candlelight.
Can you see me? Okay. Can you see me? No.
Is this the Le Batard Blair Witch Project?
I'm sorry that I literally, after leaving ESPN, can't keep the lights on.
Stugotz, pay the bills for the man, will you?
You want me to pay the bills? Get out of here. I don't pay my own bills.
How big is Jimmy Butler? If we had power rankings in Miami. I know. Our athlete power rankings. Is he a 1 seed?
Oh, yeah.
What do you?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
Dan, you are doing the show I've always wanted to do. Power rankings for Jimmy Butler. I mean, God bless you. Man.
1 seed.
Yeah.
1A.
Okay. Over anybody with the Dolphins. Anybody else come into? Anybody from the Florida Panthers? You know?
Okay, you're talking about present or all time?
How about current? And then we could do all time.
Okay, but this is what we need to do if we're going to go to,
Can you put up a test pattern at least on your screen there, like something? It's just.
Buddy, I don't have control of the technology here.
This is embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. You don't think I'm embarrassed right now? Or do you think that I'm filled with buoyant champion pride right now?
This is why Mike Ryan left.
But he hasn't left. You just can't see him because he's got his head in his hands in the dark. I can see
Well,
it.
he's going to be leaving. Yeah.
I'm leaving now.
Yeah. I'd get out. Get out while you can.
To answer your question, this is why it's funny, the question that you just asked. Yes, Jimmy Butler is in the process of trying to wrestle away the legacy and team of the Miami Heat from Dwayne Wade gave us the greatest feeling and LeBron James gave us the greatest feeling. However, in the last two games, Caleb Martin has been their star. Caleb Martin has been their best player. Over the last few games, our Michael Jordan has been outplayed by Caleb Martin over the last half of the series.
He should have been the MVP last night.
Well, that's Reggie Miller's fault. He said it on the broadcast again and again.
Why are you yelling? You don't even have lights on there. You don't even have the status to yell at me right now.
Because Reggie Miller told us on the broadcast last night.
Surprised the audio works there out of that studio. Good God. Goodness gracious. Man.
Can you see me at all?
No. It's a dark screen.
Why am I holding these lights to my face?
I can't.
Making me sweat.
He's been holding the phone to his face for 15 minutes.
Dan, for 12 minutes you have been in the black and in the dark.
You can't see me at all?
No.
The power's out in the building, Dan.
This is great.
I have no idea how we're connected to Dan Patrick, honestly.
It's hot in here, too.
All right. Well,
Sweating.
now I'm here. Now you don't have any signal here coming. Oh my God, I feel bad for you.
Middle Arc
You've
Media.
fallen already.
Hiring now.
Yeah.
Hiring now.
Hopefully-
As media falls apart all over the United
How
States.
about technicians? Hiring technicians right now, a lighting director, something like that. You got to start with the basics. A good
We're in
foundation, Dan.
A brand new studio. I'm sure it wasn't cheap, Dan. I'm sure it wasn't cheap.
Oh, no. I saw the tour. I saw the tour of the studio. Looked great.
Do you know how hard it is
Oh,
to
God.
pay rent and buy things in Miami right now? Do you know how expensive things are here?
Stugotz, Greg Cody, and Dan Le Batard make up that powerhouse show, the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. And you know what? You're onto something. A blackout show. You know, we see audiences do it. You've done it with a show. Congratulations, Dan.
I'm deeply embarrassed.
Rich Whittingham's last day.
When you guys make big announcements, are you one that just likes to rip the Band-Aid off or really just drag this out? Like, if you had something really important to say in this segment, would you just say it right now? Or would you, like, let's have a segment, have a little conversation, and then
what do you
build
mean
up
big
to it?
announcements? Like what kind of big announcements?
I don't know. I'm just saying if hypothetically someone wanted to announce something in here.
Announce
like
like
Whitty,
what,
if you
though?
wanted to announce something, would you just like, are you rip the Band-Aid off kind of guy?
I think I am. I don't like to drag things out.
Get right to the point.
Get right to the point.
But why are you guys talking about big announcements?
Because I just
what
like
is-
to talk about life sometimes, and we all have big announcements to make sometimes.
Right. You never
and
know.
I just like to see. I like to go around the room, get a feel for how people like audience. How do you like? We're gonna give a little 10 seconds of silence here, so everyone in the audience can say how they handle big announcements. All right, so audience, when you have a big announcement, are you a rip the Band-Aid type, or do you, slow burn? Shh.
Wow.
This is a callback to Naked Chris, by the way. I used to do this with Naked Chris.
You guys are so uncomfortable with silence, you couldn't get through 4 seconds.
Seriously, I mean, working in radio for a long time, Dan.
Ready to go. Dan and I were ready for 10 seconds.
So I still don't understand what you're doing, though. What are we making a big announcement here? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we are.
But who's making it? Is Chris Cody making it? I mean,
I am making a big announcement. Well,
okay.
I don't like to classify my own announcements as big or not big.
Wait a minit.
I'll leave that to you guys.
I started this segment, and there's actually an announcement that needs to be made.
What are the chances?
Wow.
Good at this.
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le
That's a
Batard
fine.
Show. That is a fine on Greg Cody.
For what?
After 10 minutes off.
It's your phone.
Okay.
What do you mean for what?
You know what? Had you not banished me to the room there, I would never have turned on my phone to catch up with. I'm a very busy man, but I wait until I'm sent to the penalty box to turn off on my phone. So had you not penalized me,
I penalized you because you just said it's a glorious thing, the mangrove.
Right.
And then
it's a thicket. It's beautiful. There was a swing in it.
put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. What do Americans stink at more, tennis or soccer? At Le Batard Show. Do you have either opinions on either of these things?
Yes, I have opinions on both. Tennis, look, I was raised by Jimmy Connors and McEnroe, right? And
hold on a
and
second.
Chris
Okay,
Evert
we
on
should
the-
say the women are good, but go ahead. Here, we'll give you the floor here. Go ahead.
The women are better than the men today. I'll give you that. But who's the next? And after that, there was Pete Sampras.
Who's the next?
And Andre Agassi. Okay, who's the next? Nobody's coming along. I know there's somebody's ranked number 10. Big deal. Nobody's coming along. A man hasn't won a major. An American man hasn't won a major in a half century, in a quarter of a century, since around 2000, I think it was. I don't have the stats right in front of me.
Your glasses are fogging up.
I know. That's because I'm verklempt about the state of American tennis. It's ridiculous. The women are a bit better. I'm a big fan of Coco Gauff, but even her, she wins the French Open, and it's like, all right, and then she takes a crap in the first round of Wimbledon.
All right.
So I'm frustrated by men's tennis, the state of American tennis, because as you know, I'm a tennis fan. That was one of my favorite sports. That's the sport that I played. That was my exercise when I was a little younger, in my 20s and 30s particularly. Now, I just can't watch tennis anymore because I don't see the American domination or representation even. And soccer is a little bit frustrating. I don't fault the U.S. men's national team for not beating Mexico in the Gold Cup final because they were playing with the B team. Okay, they were missing a handful of starters, including Christian Pulisic. They did not have their A team, but it does make you wonder how they're going to do in the World Cup in less than a year. Do they have the team to even survive the group stage and get into the knockout round? Right now, you'd have to say that's very iffy.
What do you make of their coach saying the lessons from that loss are priceless? Like, I just think it's a loss. And,
well, yeah.
Like, what are the lessons? What are you learning?
It's hard to learn anything when you don't have your full team. And I didn't like the fact that he's complaining about the officiating, the referees after the game. If you're looking for an excuse, you have a good one. You didn't have a handful of your best players. That's your excuse, not the officiating. The other thing is the game's played in the United States. It's a pro-Mexican crowd. That's not ideal if you're the American coach. You'd like to have home field advantage there. But they just continue to disappoint. They disappointed in the Nations League a few months ago, and now they're disappointed in the
That's
Gold
going to
Cup.
happen in Houston, though. You're going to get Mexico. Mexico travels well, and it's not surprising that they would be feeling like they're playing on the road in their own country.
That's exactly right. If it were St. Louis, it would have been more of a pro-American crowd. 100% right.
But priceless, the lessons?
I don't get that. I think that's coach speak, right? Like you have to learn, and the Panthers always say this as a mantra, that you learn more from your defeats than you do from your victories.
Well, I want to ask about the Panthers for a second, because I do remember 15 years ago going on a free agent summit show with Tony Kornheiser, Bill Simmons, and Mike Wilbon, and we were just fooling around at the beginning of like transactions are going to become a thing. And they were all making fun of me as I just kept arguing on behalf of why wouldn't LeBron, Dwayne, and Chris Bosh, if they're really friends, why wouldn't they just go into business together right now and decide that their friendship was going to be something that they could navigate all the business in. In basketball, over 4-year runs in Golden State and in Miami, these things do blow up and get so pressurized that the friendships don't work with the money. But you just mentioned the Panthers, and last week Mike mentioned, and other people have mentioned this, that these guys are like vacationing together with their families and stuff, and it's just clear they're having the time of their lives with their friends. And so I don't know what behind the scenes is going on with, I'll take $6 million, you take $7 million, he'll take $8 million. It's all like, we'll figure it all out. We like being together. Let's just keep this running forever. Where the relationships seem to be real. I'm curious what's happening here, because these things can be romanticized, but it does seem to be happening. Golden State and Miami ended up breaking apart because of whatever the difficulties are in managing all the money and egos around everyone taking discounts. But there's no disputing that everyone's saying of these Panthers that these guys enjoy their company, each other's company, in a way that's now showing in contracts. They're going for 6 and 8 years to older players because the ownership is intent on keeping whatever that is together. But it's been my experience over the last 15 years, that breaks up after 4 years. Like the money gets complicated, the pressure gets complicated, and the disease of me sets in where people don't actually want to share. But what if you're really friends? Like what if you're really legitimately having the time of your life with your new best friends? Then what difference does the money make once you're in a stratosphere of millions and millions of guaranteed dollars for many multiple years?
I couldn't agree more, but I think it's what the Panthers have managed to do, create that it's beyond camaraderie. It truly is a friendship and a family situation. It sounds corny to hear it. It sounds unbelievable when they say it, but I think the proof is in the results. The exception is that. I think the rule is what happened to the Heat, where when they first came together and LeBron that night is going, we're going to win not 1, not 2, not 3, et cetera, championships. He meant that. They all thought they were going to stay together and be a dynasty, stay together more than 4 years. Looking back on that, it ended ugly for the Big Three era. It ended ugly. It wasn't pretty. And right now the Panthers are in the middle of all that, and there's no sign of it ending. And it's an extraordinary thing that they've done. And you said the families, the wives all get together. The families vacation together after the season. It's an extraordinary thing. It's. I'm not saying it's unique in sports, but it's the exception, not the rule.
I mean, it's pretty unique, and I don't know why it's happening with this Panther team right now, as opposed to why it never happened, say, in the NBA. Because these guys, guys like Ekblad, who are taking $6.5 million a year, when if he hit free agency, he probably could have gotten what he was making before. And the difference when you're making $6.5 million between $1 or $2 million per year is a pretty massive difference. And then you got guys like LeBron, who it's like, can you take a little bit less than $52 million? What if you take $42 million? No, I can't. I don't know why the NBA player can't do that. And these Panthers, they have no issue with valuing the winning, the camaraderie, and the lifestyle. I don't understand why it doesn't happen more.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the Heat, there was some of that, right? Didn't Dwayne Wade take less money?
No,
So
they all did. And look, I know that, look, this sounds over the course of the last hour and a half like we are just sitting here, especially Cody, pining romantically for the way things used to be when a guy would take a discount just to stay with his home team. I'm not telling anyone to take discounts. I'm just a bit startled that all of the Panthers are coming back. All of them are voicing the same thing. They're getting all their players to stay when in free agency. The reason a million years ago that the Steelers won multiple championships with Terry Bradshaw is because the same 22 starters kept coming back year after year. They never left in free agency. Free agency changed the ability to have legitimate dynasties because everybody wants to get paid. Them retaining everybody when people expected them to lose these people.
They didn't even hit free agency.
When they're already the deepest team in the league, there's something unusual happening there that I'm remembering what I told you about 15 years ago, where we were on the radio in Miami arguing for the better part of a year. If you're legitimately friends and you can get together and just dominate your sport, wouldn't you really want to do that most with your closest friends? Now you start getting the families involved where the kids know each other and the wives know each other, and everyone takes a discount, and now all the management is getting praised for the guys really like being around each other and are doing this thing that in basketball, for whatever the reasons, has been hard to keep these things together beyond the 4 years.
So why doesn't it happen? Like, I mean, like, I'm genuinely asking, why don't you see the hockey guys? They're making $6-7 million a year, taking discounts, and the NBA player can't take a discount from making $45-50 million a season. Like, why can't they do it if it means playing with your friends and it could result in winning? Like, I'm asking why they can't do it. I don't know.
If I was offered $50 million and someone's like, you want to take 40, I'd be like, nah, I'm good with 50. Thank you.
But why doesn't the hockey player have that attitude?
I don't know. I don't understand
Maybe
that.
I'm asking the question backwards.
I don't understand why they like each other. I'm like, you know what? Let's keep this going. Let's not make because hockey players, like to what you're saying, they're going from like $8 million to $6 million, which is like a quarter of their salary.
Huge.
At over 6 years, hockey players don't make basketball, baseball, football money.
Could it be that hockey hurts and quality of life? Like, I like it down here. When I was in Ottawa, that sucked. Like, could it just be, like, maybe it's such a painful sport that they value my time off the ice. I want to be at the beach.
I think that's part of it. I mean, look at the Panthers. They're celebrating. They're working in a place where people save all year to come on vacation. They're celebrating on the beach, bringing the trophy into the Atlantic Ocean. That's a pretty good place to live and to work.
Not many teams are showing up to the practice facility in sandals.
That's right. Yeah, and also, you know, in the case of Aaron Ekblad, I really believe that their pitch to him was, we want you as a lifelong, career-long Panther. There's a job waiting for you after you retire. You're going to always be a part of this club, a face of this club. And I think that the only thing bigger than money in sports is the assurance of winning. Okay, can you imagine being a free agent in the NHL right now? You've played 10 years, you've never won. Just use Connor McDavid as just a totally random example. You've played 10, 11 years, You've never won a Stanley Cup. You have a chance to meld into this dynasty that they have right now in South Florida. Might be a good way to go.
I mean, he's gonna pass up $10 million because he'll have a lifelong desk job after this as part of the beloved Panthers front office forever. Like, I'll take the $10 million now, please.
Like, why a player who just signed the last contract of his career in Brad Marchand, who has been on this team and in that dressing room with those players only for a few months, has decided, yeah, you know what? I'm in. Like, this is what I want the rest of my career to be. I want to be around these guys, and doesn't even bother hitting free agency.
Wasn't it being reported that Boston was going to try and get him back?
So somebody was going to offer him a lot more money than the Panthers just gave him. And he didn't even wait to see what the offers were.
Okay, but he won his only Stanley Cup prior at age 23, right? He thought it was going to happen every year. This is great. This is easy. Probably took it for granted. Goes his whole career without another Stanley Cup. He experiences what it was like this time. And he's like, yep, I want that again. I want that feeling again. Winning equals money or close to it.
Hockey can keep some cores together, but the part that I'm saying is super unusual is the kinship seems to be blossoming into something that is making guys sign before they even test free agency. Guys we thought were leaving. Guys that we assumed they would not be able to afford. It was just a natural assumption to make. Billy, I know you've got the face of something's going on. Is all you're offering to this conversation.
I can't. All right. Well, I have theories, but I can't go public with those.
Well, but
theories.
all you're giving me is something's going on.
I mean, it doesn't. All of a sudden, no one likes money. I don't understand this. Like, these people want. Oh, you know what? I want to go into this sport where they're beating me, and I'm going to feel it for the rest of my life. And I have an opportunity to make generational wealth that, generations from now, obviously it's generational wealth, can benefit from it. But I'm just going to turn down 25% of that because I like going to the beach. Get out of here.
But
something's up here.
Is happening.
Something's up here.
But what if I were to tell you it's love?
No state tax.
Love is in the
Swiss
air.
bank accounts.
It's love and 8-year contracts. It's not just the salary, it's the length of contract. You don't see many 8-year contracts offered, particularly
in hockey you do.
Not so much for players Marchand's age.
That's true.
That's true, but that's not an 8-year deal. That's a 6-year deal.
Didn't they explain to us last week that something happened with, like, the CBA or whatever, where after a certain point he'll get the money and it doesn't count against the cap? So it could just be fun with numbers, right? I mean, look, I'm the last person here that knows about NHL CBA deals, so I don't know how this money works, but it seems as though there's something going on there. Roy, maybe you could tell us where he can get the money, and if he retires early, it doesn't work against the Panthers.
Roy, you can tell us, but I believe that almost uniformly, the person who knows the least and begins with, look, I don't know anything here, is exactly the person who also says something fishy is going on here. Like, it's the person who...
I'm just saying, what is this? What is to stop? Hypothetically, I'm not saying... For the record, very clearly, I am not saying that this is going on or would ever go on or happens anywhere or should happen anywhere. I am not accusing anyone of anything, for the record. But what is to stop? What is to stop a team owner or management team from just setting up offshore accounts for players that then have access to said monies and can stay under salary caps in different sports?
So commit crimes?
I'm not saying...
It's not taxable money?
I'm not saying that happened. I'm not saying it should happen. I'm not saying anyone is doing that. I'm just saying, if said accounts do exist, do you think it's impossible to think that that's ever happened, or why a team hasn't thought of doing a situation where, you know what, like, here's this little paper that, like, the Jason Bournes of the world have, and then you go and you type it into a computer, and there's $400 million, right? And no one knows that money's there, and none of the commissioners are going to know anything. And then all of a sudden, someone's like, you want to offer me $14 million more? No, I want to stay here to go to the beach. I'm not saying that happened. I never would say that. But what's to stop something like that from happening?
Yeah, criminal laws.
It's not criminal laws.
Rules in your sport.
Rules in your sport are not real laws. Who cares about rules? All of a sudden, we think athletes are following the rules in your sports. Wake up, Jack. That's not what's going on here. Ever heard of Pete Rose? Ever heard of Barry Bonds? Rules in your sport. Huh. You sound silly.
Again, the government tracks major transactions of
it's
money.
It's in a different country.
Right, shadow accounts, yeah, dark money.
Have you never heard of Swiss bank accounts? Have you never heard of the Caribbean?
Yeah, I've heard of both of those things.
It's a shell account.
Weren't the Marlins registered in a P.O. box?
They were.
That Andy Slater tracked them down?
Yes. I will also say that Mark Cuban was punished because for a while Dennis Rodman was living in his home, and that was against salary cap rules to offer Dennis Rodman lodging for
I am a house in Switzerland. You're good.
So what you're alleging is
I made very clear I'm not alleging anything on the front end, so you couldn't spin this. I know your next step before you can think it. I knew that's where you were going with this, and I said on the front end that's not what I'm alleging. But what is to stop a team owner from doing such a thing? I'm asking the question.
Okay, thank you for asking it so vigorously.
That's fair. Billy's just saying, were I alleging that? What would
I didn't say were I. I just said, what if someone were to?
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
That's different.
If we go back for a second to the United States losing with its backups against Mexico, what do you make of Chris Richards saying after the game, one of the defenders, that the refs, quote, hate them, and that in any other league it would have been called offsides, but again, that's CONCACAF for you. They hate us, end quote.
I don't know. I saw the replay. It looked like he was onside. Am I wrong?
CONCACAF for you. They hate us.
Yeah.
You were lamenting the idea of complaining about the refereeing.
Nobody wants to hear the losing player say it was the officiating. Everybody hates us. You know what? The U.S. problem is that they didn't have their best players on the field, and Pulisic, on vacation, sends out a photo of him on a beach somewhere while the Gold Cup is going on. And he rightly got so vilified and criticized for that social media post that that he might never live it down. The problem is the system. Okay, and
that's not accurate.
Okay,
they win the World Cup. Remember that photo Pulisic sent out?
Piece of shit. You think he might never live that down?
It depends on what he does from here. Okay.
Wait a minute. You're willing to give him a legacy stain for?
Yes, he put his rest and relaxation above the national team. Okay, this wasn't just a Gold Cup, which is a big regional tournament. This was a prelude to the World Cup in less than a year. They need their team together.
But it was just the Gold Cup. It was just
okay. That's a big regional tournament.
Okay, but wait a minute.
And it's a big regional tournament.
And it's a prep tournament for the World Cup. What about that? Don't you understand? The coach himself said this is not the way to run a national team program.
It's not that I don't understand. I'm just objecting to the hyperbole of he will never live this down. He will never live down a photo sent out during the Gold Cup because Mexico scored in the 77th minute.
Okay, you don't know the reaction to that social media post. It hit an off key. It was the star of the team putting himself and his rest and relaxation above his national team. That done by a comparable player in Spain or Germany or Brazil would have been a national scandal. It wasn't here because soccer in America is still not that big.
Keep in mind that the United States, Canada, and Mexico are hosting the World Cup, so they're automatically in.
Yes, and but because they're the host nation, the onus is on the U.S. to at least. No.
It's just a regional tournament. It's the Gold Cup, and Mexico always wins it, or the U.S. always wins it. Because
Roy and I are talking about the World Cup now. Let's move on. Those three nations are hosting the World Cup, not the Gold Cup.
Right,
okay,
fair enough.
And now there is pressure for the U.S. to at least get out of the group stage in the World Cup. Will they do it? Who knows?
You are a bucking bronco of sports opinion today, and I appreciate you coming out of the gate roaring today. You seem tired. You seem a little winded from the amount that you've been carrying.
I'm just getting going.
Okay, you've been giving very strong sports opinion, and you had that one moment where all of a sudden you had a softball having to whistle Yankee Doodle Dandy, and you lost yourself in the thicket of mangroves. But you're back now. Billy, can you please tell me
Probably not.
what the update is with you and your neighbors and general feuding that is going on with your neighbors?
I don't for a feud to exist, I think two parties have to be involved, not me and my mind. So like they're not actual feuds. They're just I get upset about certain things. And my backdoor neighbor has really been a thorn in my side as of late for a number of reasons. But the latest is they have bird feeders now behind me, which was fine. But they're like these fancy bird feeders. And I'm okay with birds. We had a bird feeder for my daughter, so we would see, and the little birds would come over. There was a cardinal that would come, blue jay would come. We gave them names. Of course, as children do. The birds' names were Mickey and Minnie, and then Daisy was one of the birds because that's what kids, at least my experience, name everything after like Disney characters or themselves. Like everything that my daughter like sees, like, oh, what's this doll's name? And it's just her name. Like that's what they name. They know like 4 names, so they name everything those names. Now that my neighbor has these fancy bird feeders back there, the birds have stopped coming over to visit my children because I guess we don't have as good food.
They got the Cadillac,
and
right
we
there.
don't have like the nice bird feeders. So we've lost the birds now, and I don't know what to do because I don't want to get in a bird feeder battle with them and build some sort of elaborate bird feeder. But I also don't want to tell my children, hey, this is how life works. The birds don't love us anymore. We're not giving them the fancy things.
Well, what were you giving them? What kinds of foods were you giving them? Were you going
bird
cheap?
food?
And it's just not as tempting anymore because the
What do you
neighbors
have, like,
have
a
put
sad
out
bowl?
a better situation.
No, well, okay. So we have one of those like clear plastic bird feeders that's suction cupped onto the window so that you can see the birds when they come and they eat the food. And then we had an incident where there's a lot of vegetation in my neighborhood, and with vegetation, you get animals. So it's not rare to see different types of animals running around. There's foxes sometimes that are there. We'll get like squirrels. We'll get raccoons. We have iguanas. We'll get like armadillos every once in a while.
We have to startle the birds. Next time they're gathered at their bird feeder, we got to do something to startle them so that they don't want to go back to that bird feeder.
Well, what happened with our bird feeder is we had a very large, heavy bird that we would hear making a lot of noise, and it had a long tail, and it was a rat. So we're like, okay, well, now we need to get rid of this bird feeder because I don't want rats anywhere near my house because they're coming to steal the bird food. So I asked Ron McGill what I should do, and then I asked the internet what I should do, and the internet said if you put pepper, that scares off the rats, but it doesn't harm the birds. The birds can digest the... But we didn't do it for a while. I ended up getting rid of the bird feeder. We got a new bird feeder so we could get the birds.
What kind of pepper? Black pepper, crack red?
There's different types that they say to use, but I only had like the regular black pepper. So I set up a new bird house. I put the pepper in it, and no birds have come so far.
That's
And
always sad. Put it
it's
on the
very
poll.
sad.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do kids name everything after Disney characters or themselves? And also put on the poll at Le Batard Show. Is it very sad to put out a bird feeder and not get a single bird?
Well, the first time it happened, that's what happened. And then like 2 weeks in, eventually the birds came. So I'm like, I know this is like something that we have to be patient with. But also this time there's pepper in there so that we don't get rats, right? So then after like 2 weeks, we moved the bird feeder to a different window. And now it's in the backyard where now the luxury hotel bird feeders are in the neighbor's yard that are multi-levels. There's different type of seeds. I don't want to blame my wife, but I think she got the wrong bird food this time. But something's going on that the birds aren't coming, and I think it's because my neighbor is like outdoing us with the bird feeder, which honestly, if you're an adult with bird feeders, leave it for the children. There's children here that want to see the birds. What do you need to see the birds for?
So you're basically putting this on your window because you like the idea of your kids seeing birds swoop in and land from on, not get confused by the clear glass, and just land right there as if they're flying into your child's life like a cartoon. And that's why you put it on the window.
They like birds. What do you want me to tell you? It's cool. They'll learn to hate birds. That's what happens when you get older is you start not trusting birds and thinking birds will attack you, and then you end up disliking birds. Like, they're there, and we're trying to get the birds to see, for them to see the birds, and it'd be like a nice magical Disney movie.
Right,
She goes,
I got
oh,
it.
Mickey's coming, Minnie's coming.
Right.
But they haven't been coming. I haven't even told you about the other neighbor that's not my neighbor. It's a guy that walks the dog, and I haven't pinned down where he lives yet, but if I do, then there's trouble. I know that this guy walks around smoking a cigar at odd hours of the night, has this dog off
Sure, there's
the
tobacco
leash.
in there.
Then all of a sudden, there's always poop on my yard, and I know that it's him. I haven't been able to prove it yet, but I thought about buying a deer cam so that I could get it and catch him on camera, put it in one of the trees, and then take a picture, print out a picture, and then say, hey, stop having your dog poop on my lawn.
I have a lot of questions here. Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Do you hate or distrust birds more as you get older? So you wanted to bring Disney to your impressionable young children, and instead a rat horrifies the children, and now the birds no longer come around.
Well, we I mean, I don't know how we explain the rat situation. I think we're like, oh, that's not supposed to be there eating that bird food. But we took it down because I didn't want a rat.
Understood.
Imagine you open the window, there's a bird feeder there, it's clear, and you just see a rat right up against your window eating the bird food.
I'm just saying that if I were you, would take that rejection and that failure a little bit personally if I were you. And I'm not saying...
What was the failure? It was over successful. I attracted not only birds, but other species of animals as well, wanted to eat from my trough.
The failure is that you're feuding with your mind because your neighbor is better at attracting the birds now than you are, and you've got a pathetic bird feeder that you've filled with the greatest of delights. And keep in mind,
I'm not. This is different bird food than I got the last time. My
so
wife
you
got this
mentioned
one,
that.
and
Okay.
I don't.
So
Look, here's the trick. You look to see what kind of birds are in your neighborhood, and then they sell specific food for those birds. It's a cheat code, really, but it's kind of like if Zaz is my neighbor, and I know Zaz likes hamburgers, and I want Zaz to come visit me. Yeah, then I put hamburgers in my windowsill like a pie, and then Zaz sniffs the hamburger and then comes floating over.
I'll eat it.
You put exactly what they're. If it's Cardinals that are there, you get the food that the Cardinals like. If it's Blue Jays, you get the Blue Jays food.
Please,
She got
yes.
specific just for Cardinals, which now the Blue Jays don't want to come and eat. It's crazy.
Okay, so perhaps it's not the greatest of delights because your wife has failed. What I'm saying as to why it is you should take this personally is because those animals have to hunt in order to find food. You're putting out a smorgasbord. You're putting out an amount of food for free that they can just have, and they're saying, nope, that's the house with rats. That's the house.
My house doesn't have rats, to be clear.
No, but
there was a rat. There's lush vegetation.
You think there was just one?
They also don't normally pay for their food. Yeah, it's true. That would be funny if they did.
Well, they have to hunt for it. They have to find it. It's not out there for free. It's not a smorgasbord.
Well, it's free.
It's
just they have to find it.
They have to work for it. They're not. It's not every day you can show up and the wife has put out the wrong food.
We don't know that for a fact. Just a working theory of mine.
You said it twice.
You know what I saw this weekend?
It seems like you.
Well, I can say it, not you guys. I have to stand up and defend her honor. How dare you guys insinuate my wife does not know how to shop for bird food? I'm sorry. You sons of bees.
You did that. You kept saying that. Otherwise, I wouldn't know.
You know what I saw this weekend? In the realm of animals and eating food, I saw a dolphin in right down here. We came over because my wife had family in town, so we were doing like touristy things, and we were here by the museums, and we saw a dolphin just swimming in the bay, and I had never seen this or considered it. The dolphin was jumping out of the water with a giant fish in its mouth, and then would let the fish go, and the fish wasn't dead. The fish was still living, would swim away a little bit, and then it'd capture it again and jump back out with the fish. It was playing fetch with itself with a live fish. And then eventually it sounds awesome, but I imagine it was very traumatic for that fish.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
You know it was the same fish.
What are the chances? It was the same size roughly. It would come up. It was going like in a line. It would do it. And there was people watching, and I was trying to figure out, is this dolphin putting on a show for like the spectators? And what is the end game? Because the fish seemed too big for the dolphin to eat, which may be what was happening is it was trying to eat it and it was too big. Eventually it got away because the dolphin disappeared for a little bit and then came back up without the fish. So I think that the fish got a fast one. But I had never thought about what dolphins eat in terms of hunting and if they like entertain themselves by catching. I'm going to ask Ron McGill the next time he's on about this. Tomorrow. It was playing catch with itself with a live fish.
What would be your guesses here? Because that's a good guess that the fish was too big. I do think that animals do play with their food sometimes. Again, why it's so insulting that you're putting it out for free for birds and they don't want the free food that you're giving them to even play with. Like they don't want it. They don't want to be near it because there was a rat there recently.
We took the bird feeder down because of the rat. We had to figure out a solution. And then if I'm going to be honest, what happened is Daddy accidentally broke the first bird feeder. So then we had to track down a new bird feeder. But I was trying to be like conscious of the cost of said bird feeder because the first one was like $5 at Target in like that section when you walk in. And then those things, you basically have to get them when you see them. If not, they disappear forever. So then $5 bird feeders are out the window, and I don't want to pay $30 for a bird feeder.
Did you
I'm
say,
not an idiot with my money. I'm not Aaron Ekblad.
Did you say that you did other tourist things this weekend?
Yeah, we went on a boat. It was a touristy weekend. When people come in town, we take them on touristy things. So they want to see Miami.
So you go
Star Island, by the way. It was crazy to me. So we were on a boat. I'm not going to tell you which boat because I don't want to dissuade people from going on the boats to take you around Star Island and stuff like that. 90 minutes. If you can't buy it on Groupon, it's like half the price. So we go and we try to negotiate with the guy. So we go on it. The guy's just following a script that he has memorized. He's doing it in English and then right after in Spanish over and over again. And then we get to the area of Star Island where you wonder, is this going to be on the tour still? And in case you're wondering, yes, they still tell you where Diddy's house is on the Star Island tour.
Oh, so they
it was
haven't
still there.
updated it,
They tried. They tried. That is Diddy's house, and then it kept going. Like, all right, quick turn. We're gonna keep going. But yeah, they showed us Diddy's house for some reason, which seemed like a crazy decision by me because they could have just said anything. Wow. Those houses, they can tell you anyone lives there, right? What do you know? Why would you go out of your way and tell us that's where Diddy lives?
Was there a for sale sign on his lawn?
There was not. No.
I love when it's like the owner of like a random company.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for adding nothing.
It had to be asked.
That right there is the owner of Kellogg's.
Dude, no, the Viagra guy is living large, no pun intended. That guy, that house, crazy.
So that one is life is cruel when you read that Viagra medication is just a total accident. They were just fiddling around with heart medication, and then they stumbled on Viagra by accident.
Fiddling around with something else.
Well, how's your uncle?
And
gives you a hard on.
Why are you still here?
That is what it does.
Oh yeah,
He's
why
right.
am I still here? You're right.
Roy, you gotta let that sit, Roy.
I'm sorry.
Roy, you gotta let that sit.
I gave it a couple of seconds.
Roy.
Come on.
Major penalty, 5 minutes. Grooming comedy.
5 minutes.
You gotta let that sit, Roy. You gotta let it sit. You gotta go.
Okay.
You can't leave fast enough. I wanted to stare at him for 9 straight minutes in the silence, and that's when you ran into the breach. Your dad's lack of subtlety there was excruciating.
It's the chair.
Excruciating. Billy's hiding behind his computer, trying to hide from the shame of Greg Cody just blurting the phrase.
Breaking news. We're getting to the sounder. Per Shams Charania, the Clippers, Jazz, and Heat have agreed to a trade that sends Norman Powell to Miami, John Collins to Los Angeles, and Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and a 2027 Clippers second-round pick to the Jazz. So Norman Powell is added to the Miami Heat.
All right.
I believe an all-star last year. Look that up.
Bradley Beal was the reports today for the Miami Heat as they go into the buyout bin and the discount bin and the Norman Powell bin.
So is Barry right?
Jeremy just said twice off mic. That is a great pickup.
He's a good player. He's a really good player.
For Kyle Anderson, a second-round pick, and Kevin Love, who didn't play?
It hurts the Clippers as well. He was valuable for them.
Not an all-star last year. Borderline.
He's a good player. He's not an all-star.
Honestly, the part about that trade that I like also is it clears a roster spot. Like maybe there's going to be another guy they get too.
You're going to assume that they're going to be doing something, but when they're shopping in the Bradley Beal discount bin, and that's what you're hearing about today, trying to talk yourself into whatever it is you were trying to talk yourself into Andrew Wiggins would be that it's not very exciting.
Why does Bradley Beal want to play here? Like, it's the same thing with Damian Lillard. I don't think these guys want to play here right now. They wanted to play here 2 years ago when the Heat were Eastern Conference champions and they had Jimmy Butler.
They can hang out with the Panthers. Yeah. They can hang out with the Panthers by the beaches with no state income tax. And he can play. He can spend time playing. He's one of only 2 players with a no-trade clause, so he'd have to want to be here. Like, there's no circumstance under which he gets here in which...
well, he may get bought out, it seems.
Well, but I'm saying he wouldn't end up here unless he wanted to be here. That's the only circumstance under which it happened.
Whittingham's last day.
When you guys make big announcements, are you one that just likes to rip the Band-Aid off or really just drag this out? Like, if you had something really important to say in this segment, would you just say it right now, or would you let's have a segment, have a little conversation, and then
what do you
build
mean
up
big
to it?
announcements? Like what kind of big announcements?
I don't know. I'm just saying if hypothetically someone wanted to announce something in here.
Announce like
Whitty,
what,
if you
though?
wanted to announce something, would you just are you rip the band-aid off kind of guy?
I think I am. I don't like to drag things out.
Get right to the point.
Get right to the point.
But why are you guys talking about big announcements?
Because I just
what
like
is-
to talk about life sometimes, and we all have big announcements to make sometimes.
Right. You never
and
know.
I just like to see. I like to go around the room, get a feel for how people audience. How do you We're gonna give a little 10 seconds of silence here, so everyone in the audience can say how they handle big announcements. All right, so audience, when you have a big announcement, are you a rip the Band-Aid type, or do you, slow burn? Shh.
Wow.
This is a callback to Naked Chris, by the way. I used to do this with Naked Chris.
You guys are so uncomfortable with silence, you couldn't get through 4 seconds.
Seriously,
Chris, working in radio for a long time, Dan.
We're ready to go. Dan and I were ready for 10 seconds.
So I still don't understand what you're doing, though. What are we making a big announcement here? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we are.
But who's making it? Is Chris Cody making it? I mean,
I am making a big announcement. Well,
okay.
I don't like to classify my own announcements as big or not big.
Wait a minute.
I'll leave that to you guys.
I started this segment, and there's actually an announcement that needs to be made.
What are the chances?
Wow.
Good at this. All right, so
Whitty's leaving.
It was really poor acting.
Spoiler alert.
What the hell are you doing?
yeah, Chris Cody is correct. He has indeed broken my news. I will no longer be the executive producer of this program. I took over that job like a year and a half ago, but yeah, I will indeed be leaving that. And I have decided to commit fully to my play-by-play role, which I have recently begun with Apple. And I will no longer, well, I don't want to say no longer, because I'll still be around here at Meadowlark. We're working on a project that I will be a part of. But in terms of regular daily involvement on this show, that comes to a conclusion today. I'll still be around. I think every once in a while, I'll still kind of.
They're hugging you.
Yes.
Did you have a different way of doing this before Chris Cody got involved?
No, I didn't write anything. I was going to say it just as awkwardly.
Some people would argue that you presided over the single worst era of the Le Batard Show with Stugotz.
And if that is
That was Andy King, year one.
Oh, no.
Poor Andy
Not
King.
Andy's fault. Not Andy's fault.
That's a stretch.
No. My fault and Dan's fault, not Andy's fault. Okay?
Poor Andy King. All right, so I come in. I
It's
come in
our
third then.
fault, not Andy King's. I said
I
it.
come in third then. That's fine. But if that's on my tombstone, at the very least, I got to say I work with you, tremendous group of people. I love you all. I will miss you all.
Well,
rank us.
Hold on.
Don't
Before we get to making this awkward and syrupy, we are very happy for you because when you started over here, you are now embarking on what is your dream job, correct? This is, and for those who do not know, we have known Whittingham since he was a young broadcaster in college, heard him on a WVUM game, and he was exceptional, noticed him that he was good at the art of play-by-play, and so you bailed us out during a really turbulent, difficult time by coming over here and simply being helpful at a time, and we still need the help because we're going to miss you, but you're getting your dream job. This is, and you want to devote yourself to it because you can't, people don't understand how consuming these jobs are. They think Joe Buck shows up and can just fart out 4 hours, and that's not how it works.
Yeah, I didn't, honestly, because when I got it, I was like, all right, this works out perfectly. Fly out on a Friday, do the game on a Saturday, fly back on a Sunday, do the show Monday to Thursday. It'll be fine. It'll work out great. And then you get into doing it, it's like, whoa, this is a lot. So, I've embarked on a couple trips, and it kind of proved to be too much for me. And, I kind of decided that, this is absolutely my dream job. And, working more towards this and being able to do it better is really important to me. So, I'll still be kind of hanging around in case anyone needs me for anything. But in terms of regular involvement in the show, and I actually, Dan, in honor, I have a top 5 list if you want it.
Wow!
On the way out here, as sort of a memento to leave behind.
Okay, so this is a top 5 list on one of the worst eras ever of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz, surpassed only by Andy King. Although Stugotz says it's my fault and his fault.
Yes.
By the way, those 3 weeks when I started in between ESPN and just doing a podcast the next day one of the craziest 3 weeks of my life. That was batshit crazy.
The whole thing has been
Yeah.
batshit crazy. Again, I remind you, don't start a business during a pandemic. What is the top 5?
All right, the top 5 list. You know, I like to annoy you guys with my British expressions. And I kind of revealed them one at a time. And I got people saying, not from E. Clive. And I got people saying.
And unwelcome additions to the show.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Oh,
So I
no.
have a top 5 list of British expressions that I haven't gotten to yet, that I was going to over the course of time, but I didn't get to.
It's the perfect way for you to go out.
In that
It
it's
really
terrible.
is.
It's
You need to leave.
maximum
You need to leave,
fancy
man.
lad. He's 100% Colombian, not British in any way. It just doesn't make any sense in any way,
Nope.
except
Well,
that he wishes to be like their people.
I do have a Welsh last name. Just saying.
It's weird. I think I'm shocking people right now, telling them that Chris Whittingham is 100% Colombiano.
It's a fake last name.
It's.
I mean, that's harsh.
Anyway, number 5.
Well, I have 2 OLIs. First, I never got to say that I was going on vacation by saying I'm going on holiday.
Jesus. I said it to you often.
Everyone is just shaking their heads. Sadly, but not because you're leaving. Sadly, because this has to be the end.
All right. I never got to say that I was eating cookies by saying I'm having a biscuit.
I don't know if anyone nationally has any great urgency to get an update on Norman Powell, but he's an expiring contract. He's 33 years old. He's going to be expensive because he can score efficiently, and I don't think anybody would dispute that that is not only a good move for the Heat, but it is the move before moves because now they have like 7 small forwards and they don't need that many.
Right.
So,
Doesn't that mean they're going to try and trade Wiggins now?
I mean, I would assume that they're at least Wiggins, right? I would assume that.
And it opens a roster spot.
He's a shooting guard.
And okay.
Yeah, so it's like when we're talking about their backcourt, this might actually signal that maybe they don't think they're going to get Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard. I mean, obviously for this year, this is a different conversation than Lillard.
Well, what, you think they're starting a backcourt with Hero at the point and Hero and Powell in your backcourt?
I mean, potentially. I don't know what the difference is with Bradley Beal. Like that, I think there's a chance that maybe Powell comes off the bench. Maybe Davion Mitchell comes off the bench after a few minutes. Or like you said, they move Wiggins and they start Powell at the 3. But I don't think that in terms of roster construction, this has to be that. I think it's just worth noting that he's played the primary points of his career at the shooting guard position and would be playing.
No, you're right. He's only 6'4". You're right.
You replace Duncan Robinson's efficiencies from 3. It's 7 threes a game at about 42%.
And a much better individual scorer as an ISO player as well. Like this is a very effective offensive player who really, through the first half of last season, kept the Clippers afloat while they were getting healthy with Kawhi Leonard. Like he didn't start playing until I believe January, and Norman Powell was, a lot of people again wanted him to be an all-star for them because of the way that they were succeeding early. As an expiring contract, this is a really solid move for a team that keeps its flexibility next year.
I know that that is breaking news, but more interesting to me is Greg Cody being the only person I've heard anywhere in the national media being against the 7-team trade. I haven't heard anybody else. Am I catching you off guard here? Why?
Who do you think won it, Greg?
Why are you moving away from the microphone as I shock you with your own opinion?
No, you're not shocking me. I can't believe I'm alone to think that a 7-team trade is a bit ridiculous. That's all. I mean, you don't see 7-team trades in any other sport. Why would you see them in the NBA?
What are you objecting
Two teams
to?
make a trade. Make a team. Make a trade.
What are you objecting
Call the other
to?
GM and say, "I'll give you him.
Where's
you
the
give me
line?
him."
Are you okay with a 3-team
What
trade?
is the problem?
3 teams barely.
Before, that's the line.
More than 3-team trades should not be tolerated.
Really?
Yeah, that would be in my CBA.
Really?
Absolutely.
In your personal...
Yes.
Instead of Stugotz's personal record book, we're going to have Greg Cody's personal collective bargaining agreement.
The GBA. Correct.
Well, the
7.
CBA still works with Cody. It still works. The Cody bargaining agreement.
Yeah, that's fair. No, there's too much. The whole structure in the NBA is too confusing. You know, the second apron. Come on. Luxury tax. Come on.
You're spot on. Yeah, you're so right, Greg. Every other sport, if you want to make a trade in the NFL, you know what you do? you call up another team, you make a trade. In Major League Baseball, you want to make a trade, you call up another team, you make a trade.
Seriously.
In the NBA, you got to get 7 teams involved.
It's ridiculous.
You got to have
See?
its green mathematics to figure it out.
This guy, he's with me. I tell you, Zaslow.
You're on point, Cody.
He's growing on me.
Well,
Zaslow.
Zaslow thinks the whole thing is dumb. The whole salary.
So I want to read. Can I read you this sentence here? This is a sentence from Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider, who is like excellent. All right, he is terrific. Here is a sentence from Bobby Marks in talking about the Heat. All right, if you sign Bradley Beal to a 1-year, $10 million deal, because you're spending more than $5.7 million, you're going to trigger the first apron. What the hell does that mean?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Thank you. If I'm down to my second apron, it means I spilled gravy on the first one.
I don't want to do this with you guys because the problem with this is even if I go down the path of explaining it, it becomes excruciating to listen to.
In other words, you don't know aprons either.
I'm not going to take a quiz here.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
I'm going to make a gravy joke is what I'm going to do.
You know who loves the second apron? Barry Jackson, the aforementioned. He loves all that, the luxury tax, second apron, third apron.
Well, I just want, again, to point out, okay, that Greg Cody, as he ages, is allergic to learning and new information, but is also replete with a combination of self-absorption and entitlement that makes him go into the eating area.
Eating area. I'm not
home
entitled.
of the aprons.
I'm entitled. Yeah, that's the home of the aprons, the eating area. I'm not entitled to anything. I'm entitled to whatever I earn. Gotta want to earn. Gotta want to learn. I do want to earn. I don't want to learn so much, but I do want to earn.
You go into the eating area, and there are a handful of what look like burritos in there. And you just sort of shout into the general ether, someone should put identifying marks on these.
Labels.
Yes. Exactly. Otherwise,
you're looking at your free food.
Right. I mean, it's,
and you're giving people in the kitchen more work because you want something better identified.
Okay.
This breakfast buffet is not properly labeled.
It wasn't properly labeled because it wasn't labeled at all. Here's the situation. You've got, let's call them burritos, even though they weren't, because they did have that burrito type shape. You've got 10 unidentified wrapped sandwiches. I don't know what those are. Are they savory? Are they desserty? Turkey, jam.
Well,
What's in them?
you came in here. He was eating one of them. I don't know what was in yours, but you're like, this is fabulous. And then there's a long pause. Still should have been identified, though.
Right, because I had to ask what this is.
Well, what was it?
It was like an Elvis Presley. It was peanut butter, bananas. Might have been a little bit of marshmallow in there. I detected. It was very good. It was very good. You can't eat much. Very caloric. I cut it in half. That's neither here nor there. But the point is, what you don't want to do is unwrap a sandwich, and then I see what it is, and I'm like, I don't want to eat this. And then I've unwrapped it.
But as long as you unwrap it in a way that no part of your hand is actually touching it, it's fine to look in it.
I don't want to eat.
We're friends and family here.
No, I don't want to eat something somebody else has unwrapped. I see Zaslow unwrapping a sandwich and then wrapping it back up. That's tainted. Nothing against you personally, Zaz. Could be anybody.
Why would anyone take that personally?
Right, thank you. Tainted. Touched by another man.
Or woman.
Or a woman, right. Touched by another potential leader. You can't say I'm wrong. If you're going to put out food, you got to identify it. You know what's worse is when they have like an empanada type treat.
That's not how you say empanada.
That's how I say it.
It is wild on empanadas. They try to label it on the outskirts of it. It's like there's a little M there. That means meat. A little C for chicken.
Okay,
You're looking on the empanada for it. It's not labeled on a little stick. It's on the actual empanada.
I don't like that.
I recommend, incidentally, I don't know that you will listen to this because you're an enemy of Dominique Foxworth's. But
I used to be. Now we're best friends.
Well, he did something on the second apron the other day because he's very familiar with it that was both interesting and entertaining because it's Dominique Foxworth, if you'd like to know some more.
He must have gotten gravy on the first one.
Can I tell you my new favorite thing that I do at ESPN now? All right, Dan. Speaking of the food that's out there that Cody is complaining about right now, it's my new favorite thing. You know, sometimes how I right after the show here, I go and I'm on ESPN, like right after. For instance, today I'm on in afternoon drive. So I got a few hour break, right? I can compose myself, get my thoughts together. I'm going to be terrific this afternoon. But anyway,
What about now?
that's my gimmick. One of my favorite things that I do now with ESPN, I tell the producers before we go and I go, guys, you wouldn't believe the spread we got at Le Batard today. They're so jealous. I go, what'd you have? I go, well, for breakfast, we had this, and this. And then we did the show, and I went out there, and waiting for me, we had a whole new spread. There was all... They get... I mean, granted, Christine Lisi up there at ESPN, she baked cookies and all that stuff. She's terrific. That's great. But they're very jealous. I tell them the food that I got a mouthful while we're doing production meeting, you know, and they're very, very jealous. We're doing good eating here, Greg. I wouldn't be complaining if I was you. I love bragging to them about the spread that Dan's providing. Thank you, Dan.
Greg Cody walks through here with pieces of bacon, no napkin, no plate, no nothing, just greasy bacon running down his hand, and he eats nonstop, but does complain about some of what it is that he's getting to eat there, and does so with people who are very lovingly putting it out there for him.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Nobody misidentifies a piece of bacon. You know exactly what it is. Okay, it's not wrapped. You don't need to ask anybody, what's this? With an empanada.
That's not how you say it.
Nailed it. I say it.
All right, so you're now rivaling David Sampson. Do we have David Sampson saying the word boobs in Spanish?
Tetas.
Do we have him saying the shirt that my father wears, a guayabera?
A guayabera.
That's the worst of them. How about the breaded ham? Do you have croqueta or no croqueta over there? Not yet. You're entering that category now, Greg Cody, with empanada. I don't know why you're saying. Why are you putting an N over the N?
You know, you want me to spell it out for you? I mean, it's obvious how to pronounce it.
You don't have any shame about the fact that you're complaining about these things?
Again, I'm complaining about a minute improvement that would be easy to make. Okay, you got three different types of food: scrawl meat on one, cheese on the other.
Since you're complaining so much today, I would imagine, and since you love to complain so much in general, for a yesteryear that was more that was fonder before, that was more romantic before. Are you with Billy Gill on not liking that all of a sudden, the first week of July here, the middle of July, when baseball is supposed to have and used to have the stage to itself, and when it used to mean something, when the all-star starters were announced, now you live in an age where it doesn't matter at all when baseball is naming its all-star starters. Are you like Billy Gill? Is this something that you long for? Billy, you can wax
I think I'm just
nostalgic on
old,
this subject.
honestly. I think I'm just old and I care less about certain things because, like, yesterday a lot of the all-stars were revealed. There's a weird voting system now where, like, there's different voting aprons, if you will.
Did
Greg.
we ruin it for people with the Brinson stuff? Was this our fault? Let's take credit for this.
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, there was like a voting situation, and then the most popular votes, I believe, Jeremy, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but like the lead vote getter in each league gets an automatic election into the All-Star game. And then I think like top 3 or top 4 or something per position. I guess outfield is different because there's more of them. But then like the top certain number, then you vote amongst them, and then the winner of that gets a starting position, and then they name all of the other players, which are named by the managers, and every team has a representative. And then, and this is a new thing as of the last couple years, the commissioner just decides, you know what? I want this person to be an all-star.
You must be so angry about that, right?
It started like, I feel like this little tradition started like 2 or 3 years ago where they did it for Albert Pujols because they knew it was his last year, and then to make like rosters even or something. I don't know. They're like, you know what? We're going to do this for Miguel Cabrera also. And Miguel Cabrera was like, cool. I'm not retiring, though. And he didn't retire that year, and he played the next year. And then I think they've done it since. And then this year they did it to Clayton Kershaw because he got his 3,000 strikeout, I'm assuming. So now he becomes technically an 11-time All-Star, even though this was just he was added to the roster by the commissioner of baseball. It's just a whole lot. I mean, I remember I used to go home when I was younger, and I would vote. Like, you could vote 25 times per email, and then I'd create a new email. And I'd vote.
You would go to the games the weeks leading up to it, so you
get
could
all
the
ballots,
ballot.
and then you'd go and you'd
punch
be
the hole,
stuffing the ballots,
Yeah.
and then you'd
Yeah.
just be
Hanging
sitting there,
chads.
first row of the upper deck, feet up on the thing where the wire was that would keep you from flipping over the end.
Yeah, because if you fell over, you'd die.
You're like, I'm gonna vote for Alex Gonzalez to be the shortstop.
Yeah, it was basically you picked all the Marlins, or I would pick all the Marlins. I'd have to find a pen if I didn't have a pen, so you could poke the hole in it. You'd pick all the Marlins, and then you would pick against the Yankees in the AL, or you would pick the former Marlins that were now starters on other teams in the AL. And then you would go, and then you would drop them in the box before you left the stadium. And then if there were still some ballots, you'd take those home, and then you'd forget about them. And then they'd just collect dust, and then your mom would scream at you and say, why do you have all these ballots? You throw these away. I was like, no, those are votes.
What is the time period we're talking about? We're in this century, right? We are in this century when you can remember an all-star game that you cared about in baseball. We're not back in a time where people are wearing suits and top hats to the game in black and white, right? Like we're in this century when people actually care about who's going to be named an all-star starter. Now, obviously, in baseball circles, these arguments are going to break out all the time over the person who was left off or the team regionally.
I mean, Juan Soto, can you believe that?
But can you imagine, just as we talk now, we were talking earlier in the show about just the changes to college football that make a recruit offensive lineman worth $5 million. I would like for you to imagine in your mind that you really love a sport, and the only time you can see its stars is in one game in the middle of summer. Because it wasn't that long ago where the All-Star game mattered because you needed a network television to give you all the stars in the same place because you weren't getting to watch highlights that involved all the stars.
Well, I mean, it also meant something, and like the World Series meant more because there was no interleague play. So if you wanted to see Mike Trout and you're a National League team, the only time you're going to see Mike Trout play against potentially one of your players on your team was in the All-Star game because he'd play in the American League games, and if you were a National League guy, you'd only watch the National League. You'd also discover stars because if you were only watching one league, only watching one team, you see the same teams over and over again. You really know the people in your division, but then you would see like, oh, I've heard about Ichiro, but I don't watch a lot of Mariners games, and the Marlins don't play the Mariners often. Or at the time when they did introduce interleague play, you really only had one division that you would play against that year. So you'd really only play against like 4 or maybe 5 teams from the other league. Now, every year, every team plays against each other, so you can see these players over and over again. And the World Series used to mean something before interleague play because you would obviously know there's the best of the AL versus the best of the NL. But
We
now,
sound so old right now.
I'm just telling you why it meant something back in the day. The way the sport has changed, now you just kind of get a lot of this all year long, so the All-Star game doesn't mean as much as it used to. I used to go right after work at the mall, and I'd go get a Rotelli's pizza, and I would go home, take my Rotelli's pizza, sit down, and watch the All-Star game. It was such a night. Tuesday, that's the thing about the All-Star game. It was a Tuesday every year. Day before, Home Run Derby. On a Monday, still is. The day after, ESPYs on Wednesday. That I would largely tune out of. When we were at ESPN, I'd be like, I love the ESPYs. I can't wait to go.
I always looked forward most to the celebrity softball game.
Yeah, same.
Was it after the home run derby or
It's
after? After one of them.
It's after the home run derby. It was something that I was always excited about, and it was something that every year Ravi would then tell us, like, we have to fast forward as there's time constraints or whatever. And it's like, why do you guys schedule every year for the home run derby to end at 10 p.m. when we all know this is going to go to damn near 11 o'clock at night? And then we're going to watch 2 innings of the celebrity softball game, not know what the hell happened because they had to edit it because that game is played on Sunday, which is something that I didn't realize until the All-Star game was here. And then I went to the celebrity softball game, and I had to endure, and I know this is going to sound bad, I had to endure the Futures game before that if I wanted to see celebrity softball game. The crazy thing about the Futures game is you see now guys who are all-stars, who at the time I was like, I don't care who this prospect is from the Rangers. I just want to see Pitbull sing whatever he's going to sing at the home run derby, and I want to see Jenny Finch out there pitching in the celebrity softball game, and I want to see
Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, I want to see
60-year-old
Andre
Ricky.
Dawson out
Rest in
there
power.
playing.
Yeah, too soon. You said it with an enthusiasm that made it feel like you didn't know that Ricky had passed.
No, I knew he had passed. It's the legend that I associate playing that celebrity softball game. Him doing his Ricky Trot, he would just hit a home run and then just get his little Ricky Trot around the bases. Oh man, it stinks he's not here.
Will Shane Gillis not attract a crowd to the ESPYs? I know that the ESPYs and award shows and televised appointment viewing is sort of a thing of the past, but it is the biggest thing going right now in comedy. I would assume that people wondering whether Shane Gillis will Norm Macdonald it, whether he'll do anything to make it maximum awkward. He's such a big sports fan that I doubt he'll be anything other than respectful. He's not going to – I doubt he'll go into Norm Macdonald.
I don't think respect with Shane Gillis right away.
But he really likes the company of athletes.
Yeah, but he made fun of Nick Saban to his face on College Game Day.
Alabama Jones, that was a great one.
That was. The ESPYs. Dave Winfield, by the way.
But he immediately felt bad after it, though. Shane Gillis,
yeah,
he you could see he felt.
He's like, "Is this not the fun show?
He
Can
felt
I not
bad.
have fun?"
Dave Winfield is a celebrity, all-star game,
all-timer,
Hall of Famer,
But
I would think.
The thing with these monologues, I do it with SNL. I don't feel the need to tune in anymore because I know they're just going to tweet out the monologue. So I get interested a lot of times in someone hosting something, but I don't feel the need to tune in at the time because I could just check it after.
Since we're doing a Greg Cody Monday that goes back in time, I'm going to tell you something that I did yesterday that took me back in time that I believe is going to shock you. And the reason that I have to do it, I think, is going to shock you even more. But we will do this as a poll question. I, yesterday, took the bus. I'm
Jerome Bettis.
I'm telling you
Revelation, guys, mark that.
I thought of you guys. I do it often, but I thought of you guys. I do it
Were you
often.
lost?
No.
Was it the bus or the trolley?
Well, it was the trolley. Good correction. Thank you, Roy. At Le Batard Show, do you know the difference between a bus or a trolley? Because I thought I was getting on a bus, and then when I got on it, because the benches were wooden, I'm like, oh, this is a trolley. But I didn't know I did not know when I got on it that it was a trolley. And if you'd asked me, I would have thought of a trolley as being something with wires in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. For those who don't know the difference is Dan will get on a trolley. He will not get on a bus.
Do you know the difference between a bus and a trolley? Because
isn't a trolley on a track, like a train track?
This was not, and it was very much a trolley, and it called itself a trolley, but it acted and looked like a bus. But what I was sitting on was the bench of a trolley.
Did you have family in town from Las Vegas you were sightseeing with also? Why were you on a trolley?
It was basically the Metro mover. That's what it was, on the ground.
Were you immediately embarrassed when you sat down?
Embarrassed? Why?
Well, because you didn't know that you were getting on what is not a trolley.
No, I just needed a free ride. It's a free ride. It's a lovely feature to have in South Beach. If it's raining, if for any reason, it's a good thing to have. But when you asked if I was lost, no. But what had happened is I had lost my wallet. And so I had a combination of things happening, and so I just needed to get back home, and the quickest way to do it, because the storm was coming, was the trolley. But the other thing that I wanted to tell you guys that I just didn't think is possible and is going to, I think, leave you more shocked than you were to learn that I take the bus or the trolley. My car is in the shop because the panel on my driver's side door is loose. Okay, so it's loose, and when I try to close the door, it rattles and shakes. And I took it to the Mercedes dealership, and this is where I say you guys are going to be more shocked than you were a second ago. You want to guess what they want to charge me in order to fix this? Does anyone in the room want to guess what? I did not think it was possible. I legitimately did not think that the estimate they gave me was possible under any circumstance for any automobile.
I mean, it's a Mercedes.
At the dealership.
Yeah, at the dealership. I would say $1,400.
Nah, I would go higher on that one, $4,500.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, around $4,000.
Whatever the number is will shock me less than you going on a bus.
Why didn't you just come get your wallet? You live 5 minutes from here.
Well, I would still have to take a car, or I would still have to do the same thing, so it was just easier to not do it. But again, I'm talking about the door's not coming off. The door's it's fine. I can close it. It's just the paneling on the inside of the door.
Oh, the inside. My bad. I was picturing outside.
Okay.
No. So does that change? But does that change your answer at all?
Yes. $1,450.
$2,900.
What do you want my guess to be?
$1.
What color is the interior of your car?
$9,000.
What color is the interior of your car?
That's.
I can do that with painter's tape.
Yeah,
Easy.
I'm using
I could go
super
to
glue.
Hialeah and glue it. I'm not.
Yeah.
I could do that for $50, and it's not great. But I did not think it was possible.
Did he tell you in person or on the phone?
No, it wasn't me. They told my assistant who took it in. They told her written estimate quote $9,000, and I think that's more shocking than me taking the bus. But put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. What's more shocking? Dan taking the bus or trolley? Excuse me. Dan taking a trolley, and I still don't have a clear idea of the. Can you get me a definition for the working differences between a bus and a trolley, or a $9,000 door repair of any kind?
It seems as though the trolley bus, which is how it's referred to, it's powered by the electrical wires above, so it's essentially an electric bus, where obviously a bus is powered by gas on its own and can go anywhere. But the difference between a trolley and a tram is that the tram is on a track and trolley doesn't have to be.
How about that?
Well, but this identified as a trolley, but it was not electrical. It was a bus, but it very much identified as a trolley. It said it's the Miami Beach trolley, and it was very proud to be a trolley, and it was not a bus.
If you're a bus, you want to be a trolley, or if you're a trolley, you want to be a bus?
Maybe depending on the location. Right, it feels more quaint to go on the trolley.
Yeah.
So if you're on Miami Beach, you're like, it's a trolley.
A
but really
touristy
it's just a
area,
bus.
you say you're a trolley.
Right. South Carolina, trolleys.
Okay.
How long did it take for them to fix it?
No, I haven't gotten it back yet because they were doing a diagnostic check, and I absolutely refused to pay that much. So I want my car back so I can go get it fixed somewhere else that's not going to be that kind of unreasonable.
Well, I mean, what they're going to do now is they'll say, okay, we can do it for $7,500, and then your diagnostic check's going to be $1,500.
Exactly.
They're getting that money out of you one way or another.
Trolleys can also be horse-drawn. Was yours horse-drawn, Dan?
No, it was not horse-drawn.
I thought that was a carriage.
Horse-drawn.
I'll look up the differences.
I have been on a bus or a trolley much more recently than all of you. So when was the last time you guys were on a bus?
It's been a while. It's been a minute, as the kids say. Why isn't your car under warranty?
It's just it's over.
Yeah.
It's expired. It's
Another good question. Why is the guy with a personal assistant worrying about a $9,000 bill?
Wow. So $9,000 is not a lot of money?
He can still value money.
Just throwing it out there.
You think? Wait a minute. You under what circumstances do you believe anyone in our audience is believing that what I said was any kind of reasonable? I'm assuming most people in our audience think I'm lying, like that they are like me. They cannot believe that what I am saying is true because it cannot be true. Like I legitimately think that I could super glue this and have not a great situation, but certainly not a situation where I could live with myself because I had spent that much money to fix what's paneling. Like it's not even, it's just loose. It hasn't come off. It's only loose. Yeah. And I don't know how any place in the world has the audacity to charge something like that for that.
It is outlandish, I will admit that. You could replace it with wood paneling for like $100.
Like the inside of a 1970s station wagon?
Right.
Studebaker.
Have it cut specifically for the shape. Take it to a upholsterer.
He's right. Wild Bill used to be a carpenter. He could have done it for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, your son betrayed you last week and said you're not any kind of handyman, that you came on here and said you were a handyman and that the family doesn't identify you as a handyman of any kind.
I reject that. That's ridiculous.
Well, now what's true?
What have you built?
Whatever I'm asked to build.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like people are saying, hey, build me a divan.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. I'm not a master carpenter like my dad was. I'll say that.
You identified as a handyman.
A handyman.
And,
yes.
And then when your son asks you, what have you built? Your response is whatever they asked me to build, and no one asks you to build anything.
If you have a wall that needs painting, I'm going to paint it.
Yeah.
But
That's a painter, though, not a.
That's a handyman.
That is true, though. You do have a handyman. How about this? When Dan gets his car back, would you give it a look?
I would.
See what it would cost?
I would fix that for $1,000.
Dad,
Really?
you have a
Yes.
handyman.
Well, for odd jobs above my pay grade, I hire out.
Electrical, you got to go with someone that knows.
Well, if I'm
dangerous.
if I'm just replacing a faceplate or something like that, I'll do it myself.
That's the one thing I can even do.
Well,
The handyman's doing a lot of lifting there as a phrase if you're identifying as a handyman.
I do.
I told you the other day, he thinks he's everything. He thinks he's Salt Life, which I should show you the outfit that he wore on a boat this weekend. I mean, good God.
That's got nothing. We were in Key Largo at the time. That's the capital of Salt Life, Key Largo.
You feel at home?
He thinks he's a country soul.
I am. Yeah, those are my roots. Country music, all that stuff.
Aren't you from Massachusetts?
Yeah, I was born there, but I got a little bit of everything.
How are your roots country music?
Because that's my first love. That's probably my deepest love is country music.
Aren't you a reggae soul too?
I am. Yeah.
Just soul?
I love soul music. Give me some soul music. They stopped calling it soul music.
Oh boy, be careful.
This is
Why? What?
The DEI thing?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. They just,
Did they?
Yeah.
Did they stop calling it soul music? Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Did they stop calling it soul music?
Billboard used to have a soul chart, and then it became, I think, R&B, rhythm and blues.
Well, I actually asked this question this weekend, and this is both a little bit graceless and also what I remember about Bobby Jenks, who I don't know if the rest of you were as startled as I was to learn of a young man who was a champion reliever for the Chicago White Sox dying at the age of 44 at the age of 44 from stomach cancer. And when I heard that news over the weekend, for some reason, more than champion, more than hard-throwing reliever, what I remember about Bobby Jenks is that Ozzie Guillen used to come to the mound, and when he would call for him from the bullpen, he would put his hands out wide on his hips to send me the heavy guy from the bullpen. I want to pantomime again. Old-fashioned baseball, doing the P for protest, writing it like you would on the steam of the mirror of your shower, and also calling for the reliever from the bullpen by going heavy guy. And so I actually, because I thought of it, I reached out to Tim Kirkshin just to ask, because I'm not watching all the baseball games, and I'm like, hey, is the fat pitcher totally extinct? Like, not endangered, extinct. Is it gone? And he's like, yeah, it's gone. That doesn't really exist anymore. That's not even something that you're going to see in baseball.
I'm on it.
Was there any context in your message to Kirkchin, or was it just, hey, fat pitchers, where are they at?
Yes, the context was I was thinking about Bobby Jenks. Yes, but this is why I say that it's graceless, because it's a word association I do with him, but it was something that Ozzie Guillen did as a manager that always made me laugh. But that also makes sense, right? When I'm telling you last week, when we're laughing about the fact that every game there's somebody every night there's somebody jumping over the fence to steal a home run. It feels like in baseball, because the athletes have gotten so good, and the specialists have gotten so good, and so it's almost so. We talk about bygone ages. John Kruk famously said to a woman who walked up to him at a party while he was smoking a cigarette, "Hey, you're not supposed to be smoking a cigarette." She said, "You're an athlete." And he said, "I'm not an athlete, lady. I'm a baseball player." But that day's done. Like. There are studs all over that sport, and you can't get away with being a guy who's a little bit out of shape anymore, because it allows you to throw a baseball harder. Had you guys noticed that the heavy pitcher had gone extinct? At Le Batard Show, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Had you noticed that the heavy pitcher had gone extinct?
I feel like it ended with CC Sabathia.
Bartolo Colon, right? He's the final one, and now he's skinny.
Sabathia got skinny at the end of his career, but yes, he was
and
definitely
is still skinny. Yes, but it's gone, right?
The heaviest player in Major League Baseball is Aaron Judge.
The absurdity of that human being, like the idea that he would get better, The idea that that player would get better. And I know I'm still not used to players all over the sport hitting what look like pop-ups to me and having them go out of the park. But that guy routinely misses the ball and it goes flying out of the park.
He might end up going down in terms of his peak as the greatest right-handed hitter in the history of baseball. There has never been anyone, Yankees or otherwise, this dominant from the right side. And when you look at it, I mean, this is through 90 games of a season. So in 2022, when we thought it was going to be his peak, he was hitting 274. He had 31 home runs, 66 ribbies. Then last year, one of the greatest offensive seasons of all time, he was hitting 310 with 32 homers and 83 ribbies.
Through 90 games.
Through 90 games. This year, he's hitting 360 with 33 homers and 74 ribbies. And when you look at weighted runs created plus, it was 163 to 211 to 224. He just keeps getting better. And for years, scouts of opposing teams have predicted his decline, and yet he only continues to improve.
I feel like
it's
it wasn't
amazing.
that long ago where people were questioning if he's really any good.
Right. They just thought he was maybe a product of the lineup, or is this just going to be a fluke where he's just this home run hitter for one season? And he's proven over the course of his career, he's one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time.
What is his on base? Because the
468. His OPS is 1,202.
I don't think that there's been a 500 on base guy since Barry Bonds. But when you look at what Aaron Judge is doing, it's only with that as the comparison that Mets fans can be mad at Juan Soto because he's walking instead of hitting home runs, because they're not valuing his on base percentage. They want him to hit more home runs. They want him to hit twice as many home runs than he has, because Aaron Judge has about twice as many home runs.
I have a question on something that I've noticed at Marlins games this season, and I wonder if it's the same everywhere else. So, like on the scoreboard where they have the batting order for each team, they've replaced batting average with OPS. So when you go and you see who's coming up for the Marlins, you only see OPS every single time, not batting average
That's
anymore.
stupid. It's too involved.
I don't like that.
It's too kids at the ballpark don't understand what that means.
Can I see both sides of this? Like, I understand OPS is a better judge of it, but still put average up there. Like, it's I just want to see average.
We sound so old as a show.
I disagree with them, and also nobody wants to watch all those 220 batting averages. Just put
That's
the
actually
OPS.
why.
Do you think that's why they do it?
Yeah, but we're seeing like 670 OPS, and it's like, well, that's not good.
It was really funny.
That's a
hearing
great
fans
batting
behind me
average.
the other day be like, "Oh my God, he's batting 930."
See, we're just confusing people at this point.
Yep. It's
You shouldn't have to
confusing.
sit there and explain to your 6-year-old on base plus slugging. Slugging is this divided by this many bases. Like, come on, it's too involved.
And what's with the
Exactly.
pitch clocks? This is a timeless game. You know what I mean? Where you goes out there, and then pitchers would hit. Now we have a DH.
Speaking of, you can watch the pitch
Both
clock on
leagues,
Thursdays on the Dan Le
please.
Batard Show with Stugotz.
That's what he was doing, Jeremy.
What is this?
I hate that it's not that it's an old show. It's that it's a proudly dumb one.
What do you mean? We know all the new baseball rules, and we just don't like them. I feel like baseball's one of our smarter shows around, sports around here.
Well
Like,
said.
we're better with baseball than we are at most sports.
I thought we fixed it. Didn't we fix baseball?
Under 2 hours.
Why do they pay us?